580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Victory Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Kansas City Chiefs taking care of business up in the Northeast. But does your opinion on them change? We will get to all of that. Jake LeBon along with Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you here on this Monday. And we've got so much to jam-pack into this Monday show. We will hear from Matt Verderame, and I'm excited to get his take on the Chiefs, the offense, defense, and taking care of business in the second half. Also, the Kadarius Toney issue, the Sky Moore discussion. We will get into all of that. We'll hear from Andy Reid. Andy Reid, much better mood today than last week. That is a huge positive.
I'm shocked.
He's even taking shots at reporters not making their bed in the Zoom call today, which is hilarious. And I don't even mind that. I don't make my bed, so I got better things and bigger fish to fry than dealing with making my bed. If you don't care, well, that's all right. So we'll get to all of that. We'll talk a little hoops, go around the NFL, all of that here today on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let me know your thoughts on the weekend that was. And the game was like the Chiefs. It's been the same the last 4 weeks. Defense gets off to a slow start. The offense gets off to a slow start. Has the turnover quickly, early. Then the offense settles down, finds a way to get it done. And the defense was a lockdown defense in the second half. There is nothing that you could take away from this game to me that could alter your opinion about this team. So do you think anything different after beating the Patriots? Or are you even more concerned because the Patriots, they stink? They're not good. So how do you view it? What is this? Is the ink blot test the same? I'm still viewing the Chiefs this way, or no, my opinion of the Chiefs is worse. Maybe it's better. Maybe you're like, hey, no, what I saw from the Chiefs is exactly what I think the Chiefs will do going forward.
No, I mean, I guess my response, my question to answer that question is, what happened that would make you feel any differently about this team? Like, Patrick Mahomes was mostly normal Patrick Mahomes. I think the 2 interceptions he threw, the biggest problem with the 2 interceptions he threw is the fact that he threw balls to Blake Bell and Kadarius Toney. Those are your problems with the interceptions that Patrick Mahomes threw. Blake Bell got out-muscled for a ball, which, as the guy who's supposed to be the burly tight end in the room, not great. And Kadarius Toney, here's the problem with Toney. If you're going to make a mistake, just make the mistake. Don't let it compound. Our pal Larry Latimer, high school basketball broadcast, right? You hear him say this darn near every game, especially when things aren't going well for someone. He says, don't allow yourself to commit the double negative, the bad missed layup, and then the foul underneath the basket as well out of frustration. Don't allow that to happen. Kadarius Toney's problems so often, in the passing game anyway, are the double negative. It's not just that he drops a pass. It's that somehow he tips the ball up in the air. Dan, you said it yesterday when we were doing post-game on YouTube, our instant reaction show, that he volleyball setted the ball back up into the air. I have to disagree. That wasn't a set. That was a lift. He would have been called for a violation in volleyball, too. He lifted the ball.
He would have double hit it, too.
Double hit? Oh, there's
a triple negative.
We got the official on the ground, the number 2 officials calling something.
Thanks for keeping me honest on my volleyball terminology.
We got the corner officials who are waving the flag. The head ref is calling him for something. Like, it's a disaster. You can't make a mistake on top of a mistake.
You can't throw him the ball in traffic at this point. Like,
no.
You can't throw him the ball in the middle of the field at the risk that he is going to not just drop it, but deflect it into the hands of the other team. That seems like kind of a problem for a wide receiver, that we can only throw you the ball when you're wide open or you're behind the line of scrimmage, because then at least it won't clank off your hands and directly into the hands of a defensive back that way. That's a bit of an issue. But yeah, I think your rhetorical question is the right one. Like, what did you see from the Chiefs that you didn't expect, either positively or negatively, to see from the Chiefs? And I don't think that's a very long list. I think they played all the hits.
So my question, okay, so obviously the same song and dance every single game that we've had. 2 turnovers, defense, everything, surmising everything. But shouldn't they be better against the Patriots? Like that's my question is, do you feel worse because you couldn't do it against the Patriots?
What was a reasonable expectation to do? Like, they were winning that game by 17 points into the fourth quarter and would have won it by 17 points if Andy Reid didn't call off the dogs on their final drive. Like, if you beat
that upset someone I know.
Yes, there were some that was significant to some.
I'm sorry, Brent.
They were so close.
Hey,
I
sorry,
really
Brent.
thought.
Dan, how long did it take me to bring that up? It's 2:13 right now.
7 minutes.
If anything, I should have gotten a medal or a cookie.
They were in field goal range. Why not try to get a little bit more confidence for your kicker who just missed his first kick of the year? Why not try to keep building him back up?
Andy Reid, non-stat patter.
If the NFL had a Lou Groza award, you'd have to kick that one to make sure you bumped up his stats.
We got to get them numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Make sure he makes All-Pro this year.
I don't know if Reid does that against every team in the league, but he absolutely, that was like a show of respect for Belichick, I think.
Yeah.
And it is an open question as to whether the Belichick Patriots would have exhibited the same sort of sportsmanship. Certainly not the Belichick Brady era Patriots. Now they would have scored and maybe onside kicked. But no, they would have won that game. They would have won an NFL road game by 17 points. And I think that's pretty good no matter who you're playing. You go on the road, you beat somebody by 3 scores. And it was a game that was a little bit uneven to start. You had you had the good touchdown drive, the one drive that New England put together. They put together a couple. They had the missed field goal. They put together the drive. They scored on the 4th and 1, tied at 7. You get the interception on the very next play for the Chiefs. Chiefs defense stiffens up. It's 10-7 on the road, and then the Chiefs score the next 20 points. I mean, they dominated the bulk of that game. There wasn't anything that I saw that I thought, man, this is troubling. This is a side of the Chiefs that I did not expect to see. This is something that the Chiefs are doing that is raising questions about how good they actually are. No, they were like a radio station. They were like an FM radio station. They played all the hits. Blitzing, getting after the quarterback? Yep. Did they force a turnover? Yep. Did they create turnovers themselves and give the ball away, put the ball on the ground, throw 2 bad picks, give free points to the other team? Yep, they gave them 10 points. Like that should have been that game should have probably been something like 37-7 if the Chiefs hadn't been messing around. But they did. They played all the hits, all the popular Chiefs things and not so popular Chiefs things that you expect from a Chiefs game are what we saw. And in the end, it was good enough to comfortably beat a lousy team. And you really can't ask for much more than a comfortable road win over the dregs of the league. You do that, you did your job.
Is it asking too much to say, just don't turn the damn ball over? Like, that's where I go with do you feel worse about this? The Patriot defense is not, they're not terrible. They're not exceptional. They're really good against the run, and we kind of knew that. And the Chiefs kind of fed into that. That's why they threw the ball 37 times, didn't really run the ball a whole lot. But and the Patriots, Dan, you're the one who said, the Patriots don't force a lot of turnovers.
No, they haven't done it this year.
But yet they were able to force 2 of them.
You give them 2.
Granted, one of them was forced because that was the interception that the linebacker went over Blake Bell. And for some odd reason, I don't know why.
That was a bad job by everybody. That was a bad job by Trey Smith getting worked in pass protection. That was a bad job by Mahomes. The throw isn't as sharp as it needs to be because he's off his back foot.
And he's throwing
because
it to
of
Blake
Trey
Bell.
Smith's failures. And Blake Bell doesn't come back to the ball.
Yeah, what is with the wide receivers? Are your feet in concrete? No. Was it 3rd down and you had to get the 1st down right then and there? No. Go back to the ball when you wait for it. That allowed him to, like, if Blake Bell just took 1 step further. It's just an incomplete pass, or it's pass interference. No, I got to sit back here and, I'm waiting on a woman, like Brad Paisley used to say. Like, it's just ridiculous there. Now, the other one is not a forced turnover, okay? It's not. The Patriots did not force that turnover. That was simply Kadarius Toney can't catch a football. And I believe we finally saw some reaction to Patrick Mahomes, where he ain't going up to Toney after the game and giving him a hug. All right. That was Travis Kelce. Did you guys see the photo of Travis Kelce walking off, had Tony's arm, like big brother and little brother type of deal? That's Travis's job. Okay. Mahomes, he mouthed, I don't know what else I can do. And that's the first time we've ever seen Mahomes actually, physically promote what the heck am I supposed to do on the sideline.
This has been an incredibly frustrating year for Mahomes on the basis of we haven't seen him crack. And now 2 weeks in a row, like, it's one thing to toss your helmet when you get frustrated. Like, guys do that all over the league every week. It's quite another thing to be this demonstrative. And even for Mahomes, like obviously last week was kind of the new standard for demonstrative Mahomes on the sideline. It wasn't so much that he was demonstrative. The camera just happened to catch him in a moment of honesty, or he says, I just effing can't, man. Like, everybody understands that feeling where you can't even. Everyone understands that. There's a cottage industry of memes and Instagram accounts about that feeling when you can't even. And Patrick Mahomes expressing those feelings out loud is not a problem. I don't have any problem with him being frustrated. And I wouldn't have any problem if he'd gone over to Kadarius Toney and had maybe a one-way conversation with him at some point, because that needs to happen at some point. The mistakes have to stop. Rashee Rice has to protect the football. It's the one thing separating him from maybe being a top-flight wide receiver in this league. Sky Moore, dude, you're one catch, and you're lucky you get bailed out on the softest flag in the world.
We're going to get to Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney here in just a second.
We're going to get him a bus ticket?
But I'm going to tell you why there's a little bit of part of me that is excited, or I am a little bit more positive, okay? The turnovers is what they are. When you throw the ball to Blake Bell and you throw the ball to Kadarius Toney, bad things can happen, right? It's just that's just how this team is this year, okay? But there is one thing that got me excited about this, and I'm going to tell you what they were. And that was, I know overall, if you look at it, third down in this game was not great. They were 5 of 13. But when they needed some big plays on third down, they got them in this game. You look at, they're down 10-7. 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. 3rd and 8. They get a big play to a guy who can catch the ball, Justin Watson. Big play on 3rd and 8. Then 2 plays later, it's 3rd and 9. Who do they go to? They go to Rashee Rice. 3rd and 9. Then 3rd and 1. They got the conversion. That's 3 conversions, but 2 of those are 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they got the first downs. Same thing then in the field goal drive to start the second half. It's 3rd and 10. They go to Rashee Rice, 11-yard gain, gets the pickup. Now, you're not going to get every 3rd and long incompletion to Travis Kelce, but they got the field goal to put them up 7, right? So, and then same thing, I believe on the field goal drive when they had a 3rd down and made it converted. They got some big 3rd and long conversions where when it gets 3rd and 8, how many when Juwan Taylor false started and it went from 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 8, what did you guys say? This is what derails the Chiefs this year. 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 3rd and 9, not a big deal. We can come back from that. This year, it wasn't the case. But they got, and it was the biggest point of the game. When you're down 10-7 to the Patriots. Now, the fact that it was down 10-7 was a credit to the defense, because anytime you get a turnover, just hold them to a field goal. And that's what they did. And man, the kicker almost missed 2 of them.
The killer penalty by the Patriots there too, wiped away a touchdown.
Yeah. So to me, third down gives me a little bit more hope when the game really did matter. That, you know how we talked about the biggest play against the Vikings game that stood out? It was 3rd and 8, and the Chiefs were down, and they needed to score, and they just threw a jump ball to Justin Watson, and he got it.
Yeah.
The biggest play of this game was 3rd and 8, and you threw a corner route to Justin Watson. That was the biggest play of this game for the Chiefs offense when they were down 10-7. Then you go up 14-7, and then you got the double up. Very rarely do the Chiefs get the double up in this situation, but they did. They got 10 points. They went from down 10-7 to up 17-10 without the Patriots touching the football. And then when they did, we all knew Bailey Zappi was good for one bad play, right? We knew that.
I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little pat on the back because I said out loud, let's see if the Chiefs can create a turnover here. And, of course, on the very first play of the drive.
And that's a great play by Bill Gay. That's a real good play. Baited him, step back, and then...
Is he Bill when he makes a play?
Yeah, he's Bill Gay.
I probably would have called him William, but Bill's fine.
Bill Gay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So they go down 7-10 to up 24-10 with New England taking one snap. One snap, and that was the interception. Like that was terrific. You know, what we like to say, complimentary football. But on third down, they got the big plays that they needed to, and maybe that is a boost for this Chiefs offense.
That's been such an advantage for the Chiefs over the years, right? Is that they're never out of it on third down. There's never that give up down on third down, 3rd and 13. I'd run a draw play. Mike Holmgren, one of Andy Reid's mentors, loved running the give up draw on third down.
Oh, yeah.
It was his. I think he secretly liked when it was 3rd and 8 or longer, so he could just give it to his fullback and just run fullback draw. And I think I saw it work one time when he was the coach of the Seahawks. One time it worked. But the Chiefs, you're never out of it on third down. Like, we talk about drive killing penalties. Well, you can't kill a drive if there's no third down that's too big a challenge for this offense. And Mahomes, like the advanced numbers, he's still been brilliant himself on third down this year, but there have been too many of those drives that have stalled out on those third downs. So for them to pick up some big third downs, keep some drives alive, and score and put the hammer down, if you will, as the voice of the Chiefs might say, that was probably the most encouraging part for me.
We can't call him Bill Gay
Why?
because his birth name is Willie.
Is it really?
Yeah. We got a Bill Self thing going on here where Bill is not short for William. Bill is short for Billy. In Bill Self's name, Willie Gay's name is Willie.
How about that?
Yeah.
Where's your stance on Nicky Willie? Is Willie okay?
I mean, I don't love it, but I can live with it.
Okay.
But no, I see my threshold for my personal crusade against childlike nicknames for grown men. Like, if that's your name, like if, you know, if Tommy DeVito's birth name is Tommy, I mean, okay, that's your name. Whereas he's now officially Tom. Like, after what the Giants did yesterday, he's Tom DeVito. He's not Tommy anymore. He doesn't get that right. Willie Gay, though, his name is Willie. I got to call him Willie. That's like when people try to call you Jacob. You're like, no, wrong. That's not my name. The same principle there. Bobby Witt Jr., though, I know that ain't. I know your name ain't Bobby. Well, now I got to double check to make sure.
Are you sure there? Are you sure?
No, his name is Robert. No, you are Bob.
Okay.
Grown man named Bobby.
Hey, everybody's got a hill to die on. That's your hill
Mine's
to die.
just dumber than most.
That's your hill to die on.
Which
Yes,
is fine.
It is. So let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line. Check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Type in 580 Sports Talk. Real simple, real easy to interact with us. Put us up on the stream. Very, very simple. We're going to talk more about Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk. Analytics.
Led Zeppelin is so good.
The news is that Kadarius Toney dropped another pass, and it ended up in the hands of the opposing team.
See, I can't call that news. I can't call that news. As someone who went to journalism school.
That's news.
But see, it's not.
Look
like,
at him rubbing his fancy pants journalism.
Yeah.
Take
Take my state school journalism degree.
Actually, hold up. Jake was a mass media major.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe.
true.
That's
true.
Me and my history degree over here, just you're rubbing
That's
it in my
still
face.
news.
Really.
It's not newsworthy though. Like that's not.
Well, that's your opinion.
Not new information to us.
What?
Like Kadarius Toney dropped a pass. Yeah, I know. That could have been any game this season.
But I was explaining what happened during the game, which is news.
All right. Proceed.
Your
I will leave my
definition of-
media criticism till the end.
Your definition of news is that someone woke up this morning. That's not news.
Correct.
Because it happens all the time.
Correct.
But this, he didn't drop a pass last week.
No, but are you surprised by it? Is this something
that's not the definition of news? That is more opinion based.
I mean, there are 6 factors that go into it, but please proceed.
I look at the Kadarius Toney part right now is this question. Is it worth the gamble to play him in the playoffs if you think he's going to do this? Dan, Brent, I'm going to ask you both the same question. I want your first initial answer, and it's a yes or no. Do you think the odds of Kadarius Toney hurting the team is greater than him making a big play?
Well, define hurting the team.
Doing what he did in this game. Well done.
Thank you.
So do you think he has a better, what's more likely to happen? He's going to make a negative impact, or he is going to do something like he did in the Super Bowl and help you win a game? What is more likely? What is more likely?
It's not a yes or no question.
Well, if you're Andy Reid, to me, it Three, 9, 0, 7, 18, 4, 13, 5, 9, 15, minus 1, 17, and 1. What are all those numbers?
Yardages.
Not just yardages, the maximum long explosive play that Kadarius Toney has made this year. I'm going to say those again. 3, so his longest play from scrimmage, 3 yards that game. 9, 0, 7, 18, 4, 13, 5, 9, 5, or 15, minus 1, 17, and 1. His longest play from scrimmage this year is an 18-yard reception. He's made one gigantic play in his, hold on just a second, technically it's 23, his 23 game sample size with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's made one big, explosive, truly game-changing play. And it helped him win a Super Bowl. They don't win the Super Bowl if Kadarius Toney doesn't do it. I can fully understand that. But we are going with one play.
I think it's worth I know I'm sort of splitting hairs here. I think it's probably worth counting the touchdown he had in the Super Bowl as well. I know it was a short play, but that play was designed for him and him alone. And so at least the Chiefs had the trust in him to make that play in that spot at least. So I see what you're saying. You're right. I'm just saying that
I don't, because Sky Moore ran the same damn route the other day, and we know how on the same game. So I look at that as
like, I get what you're saying. Yes, and it does.
I also agree with you.
Yes.
I agree. You can see it. He's too explosive, but the proof is in the pudding. I mean, he doesn't make explosive plays outside of one play in the Super Bowl. So should you play it?
In his time with the Chiefs, how many games, playoffs included, don't look at his game log if you have it up. How many times has Kadarius Toney gone over 50 yards from scrimmage?
Well,
his first game with the team was week 8 of last season. And he played in all 3 playoff games.
Over 50 scrimmage yards.
Over 50
we're
scrimmage
not talking
yards.
like punt returns.
Nope, no, just yards from scrimmage.
Oh, God.
I'm going to say he's done it once.
2?
3 times. He did it last year in his second game. He had 57 yards on 4 catches with a touchdown.
I remember that.
In week 16 last season against Denver, he had 4 for 71. And then in the win in the divisional round over Jacksonville, he had 36 receiving yards, 14 rushing yards. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's like I can.
The last year that was understandable though, right? I mean, he was new to the team.
Right.
They were trying to find ways to work him in.
And you can also understand why the Chiefs thought he would be more than he is. Like, it was still very boom or bust last year. You know, you had a game of 1 target, no catches, 1 for 5, 1 for 8, 2 for 18. Like, there was still a lot of boom and bust, but at least you could see, here's the vision. Here's why we think Kadarius Toney is going to be a bigger part of this offense. And as much as it sucks to say, because you would love to say, well, this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong. Sometimes you just whiff. Sometimes you think you're getting a fastball, you get a curveball in the dirt, you swing and miss. That's what it looks like the evaluation process was for Kadarius Toney. And that happens.
He's starting to feel like your classic can't get right guy. You know, and that can mean a lot of different things, but there are some guys who just can't get right. They got a bad habit, whether it's an on the field habit or it's an away from the field habit, and they just can't get right. And you give them chance after chance because there's raw talent there that is tantalizing. And I still believe in the ability of Kadarius Toney. He's the fastest guy on just about every field he's on. And the game-breaking ability showed up for the Chiefs last year at the most opportune time to win him a championship. Some guys just can't get right. Some guys just do not have the ability to get right. And Toney's starting to feel like one of those guys. And when you have that much ability, it's hard to fully, cut the cord, pull the plug, whatever you want, whatever analogy you want to use. And I don't think the Chiefs are there yet, but if they get to the end of the season and we're not talking about at least one impactful Kadarius Toney game, then long-term, they're going to have to kind of evaluate what they've really got.
I do wonder, and we said this, the Patriots rushing defense is pretty good. And it's top 3 in the league. He didn't get a single carry in the game. I wonder if that is because of the defense that they're going up against. And that is a good front forward. You don't know a whole lot of their names that most people don't. But Barmore, really good player. Really, really good. I would like for them to get him the ball out of the backfield carrying the football. I do. I think that is a legitimate option for the Kansas City Chiefs. I really, really do. But,
I would love to run him. I've said this before, something I really like doing with players like that. I would not just hand it off to him or toss it to him or even screen it. I'm running full routes out of the backfield because you know what you always have when you start a passing route out of the backfield? Separation. You are always away from somebody else. And I know it makes things difficult because then you're kind of limited with what your quarterback can do movement-wise. You kind of, it's harder to cover because you've got to run after the guy as a defense, but also you know that their route tree is limited. But if that's what it takes to get him, though, that's what the Packers did with rookie Randall Cobb. Like, we don't really know how to use him. He hadn't quite become a true slot receiver yet. So he said, we're going to put a running back on one side of the quarterback. We're going to put you on the other side and just go get open. Like, that might be the best way to get him involved.
So that touchdown pass they threw to McKinnon in the second quarter, the one they went up 14-10. That's a really simple play to run anywhere on the field with a Kadarius Toney, right? Because you have that separation. It's just route out of the backfield. You have leverage on the linebacker. If you know you got man coverage, Kadarius Toney on a linebacker is a very appealing coverage to find yourself in. That's the other advantage of running a route out of the backfield. More often than not, if the other team's in man, it's a linebacker that's going to that's going to be covering you. So the Chiefs ran that play with Jerick McKinnon, though, and they wouldn't run that play with Kadarius Toney because they trust Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, who do you trust to catch
that ball, turn the corner, get in the end zone? That's a great play to run for Toney. I kind of thought, and I said so on Friday, that they'd run a play like that for Toney down near the goal line, get him a touchdown, get him some confidence back. Instead, what ends up happening is they run the play for him over the middle of the field. And look, it's the same kind of principle, right? It's Kadarius Toney on a linebacker. And he ran, when you watch the replay, he ran a really good route. Like, he is open. He is going to take that ball and slice up the middle of the field. It is at least a first down. And Kadarius Toney in the open field, that could be anything. But it is at least a first down because the route is excellent and the ball is on his hands and it's going the other way.
I just can't get over the fact that you drop that many balls with those gloves. I just can't get over that. All right, enough Kadarius Toney discussion.
Let's talk about the guy who got off the hook thanks to one of the iffy call. They got to have a NFL's got to get a corporate sponsor for the iffy flag of the game. The Bank of America iffy flag of the game. It didn't happen,
Dan.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. So Sky Moore
off the hook
had one target. Oh, wait. No, he didn't. Because the play technically didn't exist. It was a penalty. He gets one target and he fumbles the ball. One.
It's a big play too. Move the chains, get you into the opposing team's territory, and just not holding the football
that
securely.
Was a huge penalty. A huge penalty because that could have flipped a lot of things. I don't know what it is with this team. When you catch the ball and then you run, I don't care if it's Kelsey. It's scar tissue is built up this year. Okay. It's anytime a Chief player catches the ball and starts running down the middle of the field, all I think about is, please don't fumble. Please don't fumble. Please don't fumble. And I said that to my mind. When Sky Moore caught it, I go, please don't fumble. He gets hit. He fumbled the ball. And then I saw the, what do you call it? The little, on the score bug, yellow part comes up and said flag. And I go, hopefully it's holding, offsides, hands to the face. Something. And sure enough, it was.
So,
how do you keep messing up? How do you keep doing it? And the funny thing is that he didn't even get his cardio in. Did he have to run up and down Foxborough stairs? Because he only played in, I think, 22 plays. And the one time they go to you, December 18th, 2023, he shouldn't be on the Chiefs next year.
I can get for $97 right now, I can get you a new team for Sky Moore. That will put him on an Amtrak train from Union Station in Kansas City to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where he will be a starting member of the Duke City Gladiators of the Indoor Football League.
I am fully
right
done.
now. I can $97. It's the holiday season. I'm feeling generous. I can break Kadari or Sky Moore off 97
Man, you gotta
bones
put him on
right
a
now.
train.
Give him a hundo. Tell him to keep the change for his pack of gum.
Yeah, great. Get a
You
thing
gotta
of
put him on
peanut
a
M&Ms
train.
on the train.
Brendan gonna put him on a train. No, like I there's no.
Nah, he can't play, man.
He's done with the Chiefs.
They got e-tickets, right? Because if you hand him a ticket stub, he probably drop it.
Probably drop it. Yeah, that's an overnight trip, by the way, on the Southwest Chief. So sorry, pal. That's your last experience as a Chief. Look, I mean, maybe a change of scenery will help. Maybe he'll go somewhere with a coach who can speak something more into him. And I'm bummed because I really thought he was going to be a good player for this team, but he can't play him. He just can't.
Trade him for a 7th.
I don't think you can trade him.
Like
Seriously, who around the league is saying, I got to get me a piece of that? I'm going to give you a name now.
If he was a first-round pick, Brett Veach would be like, whoa, hey.
I can fix him. Brett Veach is an I can fix him guy, which is not always the guy you want to be. We're a ways away from needing to worry about free agency and draft and all that. We've got a lot of real football to get to. I'm just going to throw out a name. Put a pin in this name. Josh Reynolds. Detroit Lions. Just put a pin in that name. Because, right, you've got your number one, right? You've got Travis Kelce, getting a little bit older. He's your number one. You've got Rashee Rice, he's a dude. He has to stop fumbling, but he's a certifiable dude for this team. Josh Reynolds this year, 33 catches, 535 yards, 5 touchdowns. You think the Chiefs could use that?
What's the but didn't Richie James had 500 yards receiving from Daniel Jones, and he can't even crack the lineup.
Well, I think we have learned that is partially because I think he just lost so much time due to injury that he's just behind.
I think that's at least a reason.
We also learned that the Chiefs' offense is at its best when it's throwing the ball beyond 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, which is
James did
not last year. No, his average depth of reception was like 2 yards last year. That's why he had 80 catches and 500 yards or whatever it was.
That's the thing that
no, like a receiver like that. You don't have to pay you don't have to go get Mike Evans in free agency this year, although that would be fun. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be fun as hell if they got Mike Evans. But a guy who is third down, can we trust you to catch the ball and then hold on to the ball and then not fumble it after you hold on to the ball? Like, that's the kind of guy the Chiefs need at this point.
Why isn't Richie James that guy? He only had 2 snaps.
Yeah,
and one of them was a 17-yard catch and run.
Maybe Andy Reid's been hanging out with Lance Leipold. Like, if you don't practice, you don't play. And he didn't practice for 6 weeks, and thus he can't play for 6 weeks.
They might be hanging out a lot more coming up next year too.
Rumors indicate that might be happening.
Yeah, it might be. Andy Reid and Lance Leipold might be crossing paths a little bit more often. We'll get a quick timeout. We got lots more to get to here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. From the text line, Patrick made a lot of guys look good. If Mahomes can't make you look good, ain't nobody making you look good. That is very, very true. Can't do much more than putting the ball right in the middle of your hands to have it bounce out. And you got to be able to catch it first, then run. If you are a wide receiver, that is a big point of being a wide receiver is catching it first, then running. There were a lot of drops yesterday. How about the Bears guy dropping an absolute dime from Justin Fields?
Well, that was a big Bob Tunyon who dropped that deep ball.
Packer great.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what to make of Justin Fields.
I think you can at the same time say he was screwed over by a dropped Hail Mary and Tunyon dropping that pass.
He did. Who was it? Was it Moore or
it was Mooney who dropped it? Yeah, it hit
yeah.
him right in the hands and he dropped the Hail Mary. By the same token, that was the lowest PFF graded game of the season for Justin Fields. And PFF doesn't grade drops like that. Like that drop is solely against Tunyon in their grading. Fields gets credit for the throw and putting it on the money. And that was still his worst game of the season, according to them. He finished 19 of 40 for 166 yards. Even if you complete that pass and it goes for a touchdown, you're still looking at 50% completions for just over 200 yards.
Yeah, that's not great.
He's an unreal athlete. Like the only athlete at the quarterback position that is even close is Lamar, because Lamar is just a freak. Those two are in a class on their own. And yet he can't throw. No. He can't. By the way, real quick, you want to talk about a wide receiver who's balling out? Would you take in a 3-week stretch for a Chief wide receiver only 9 catches?
Yes.
But for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Well, you said, would you take this from a Chiefs wide receiver? The answer is yes.
9 catches.
I don't care what it is.
145 yards, 3 touchdowns over 3 weeks. You know who that is?
Byron Pringle.
No, close.
Demarcus Robinson.
D-Rob.
He got another touchdown.
Out. He's wide receiver 3 for the Rams, and he's been good. He's got a touchdown 3 straight weeks.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 18 yards a catch.
Last thing about the Chiefs and the Patriots. Are you guys on board with me that Bill B is not coming back?
No, I think he is.
You think he's coming back?
I think he's coming back.
What do you got?
I think he's coming back. But boy, he mailed in that fourth quarter. I early fourth. It's a 3-score game. They have a 4th and makeable at their own 42. That is go for it territory when you're down 3 scores.
I think that's go for it territory if you're down 10.
Well, yeah, I think the closer the game is, the more you're probably apt to go for it. And Belichick sent out the punt team. And that was the white flag right there. And I even said on Twitter at the time, I said, this is a sign that Belichick knows Bailey Zappi is not leading us on 3 scoring drives. We have to have the Chiefs give us one. And they did. He was right. That's why he's going to the Hall of Fame. But that was interesting. That was not a coach who was playing that game. Once the Chiefs scored 20 consecutive points, the game functionally ended there. And it's just, the guys won 301 games and didn't seem all that interested in doing whatever he could to try and get 302.
It's unfortunate that this is where we are in sports, but we are at a point where even guys who have a claim for being the greatest of all time as head coaches are not above tanking. Look at the NBA. But look at the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich still on the sidelines, right?
Hey, I'm going to go to a Spurs game.
He attached an
about that.
anchor to his team last year, dropped it off the side of the boat and said, I will see you next season when we have Victor Wembanyama. He was tanking like we've never seen tanking before a year ago. Bill Belichick, I think, is in the exact same spot. And if they don't end up with Caleb Williams, they're going to end up with Drake May this year. And that is when suddenly things are going to be a little more aggressive for this team, I think. Drake May, I hope you like New England clam chowder because you are going to be a New England Patriot.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I'm just not a big soup guy. I know you guys had the soup talk last week while I was out.
As long as you don't think cereal is soup.
I do not. I've heard the is Pop-Tart ravioli thing before. And while I understand where you're coming from. I'm also sneering. Was that Clayton on the YouTube who mentioned that? Yeah. Clayton, I see where you're coming from, but also
very disruptive.
Come on now. Come on.
I don't think it's
I love a good Pop-Tart.
ravioli is a pasta. Pop-Tart, that's not a pasta.
Maybe
it's a pastry.
Yes.
I mean,
they share many of the same letters.
Yeah.
New England is 3-11. Does Carolina get another win? Does New England get the
I don't know.
seed?
Packers didn't fire Joe Barry today, so if you want to bet on a Bryce Young passing over, might as
look
well
at
do it
that.
for
We
this
need
week.
to go to a break. It's the top of the hour.
I'm going to have an aneurysm.
Coming up, we'll go around the NFL and make fun of Brendan's picks. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Victory Monday. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. I appreciate you guys coming in today. I'm going to be really sad on Wednesday. I'm not going to lie to you. The more and more I talk about it, the more and more this is going to be rough.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough, which is another reason why I haven't talked a lot about it, because I know it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
Okay?
I will be. I'll be sad.
So we're just not going to talk about it because I don't want to get sad right now. And we're going to move on, right? Because we're men and we don't show emotion and we
don't talk about our feelings.
We put up drywall and we repair concrete.
Did we have an emotion? No, we didn't.
Yeah, I don't do that stuff. I'm not putting up drywall. Working radio, dog. I don't use my hands for damn near anything.
No, I'm saying that's what, we're going to.
My hands touch the microphone off on button.
I'm gonna as you still talked into the microphone.
I was
it's
a verbal illustration.
We use belt sanders and
nah.
We discovered the wheel and built the Eiffel Tower out of metal and brawn.
Yeah, and we rubbed sticks together and created fire.
It's the kind of man I am.
Yeah. No, we can't talk about that because I'll get sad, and we can save that for Wednesday. But yes, thank you, you two, for coming in today. I appreciate that.
Don't mention it.
We appreciate it. We're going to talk with Matt Verderame coming up at the bottom of the hour. We've got our weekend recap with the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll hear from Big Red and Clyde. Is Clyde proving us wrong? We're going to talk a little Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That brother saved his career this weekend.
We might even discuss it further. I got kind of maybe a hot take.
Oh, God.
I really don't. No. We'll talk a little Clyde. He had a great game yesterday.
He did. First time he had over 100 yards from scrimmage since week 2 of last season.
Hey, and he actually can make a contested catch. So we'll talk about Clyde here in just a little bit.
Your 5'8" running back can do what Sky Moore hasn't done once in a
or Kadarius Toney or MVS. And MVS, Mr. I'm running a post route and I end up on the ground. Why are you falling down? Did someone push you? No.
I'll say this for MVS. He had a catch the first time all year. I think I've seen him like go to space when Mahomes is rolling out. It's like find the space, and Mahomes hit him, and he turned up the field and he saw defenders. He said, "I ain't fumbling." He went down with both arms around the ball.
Kind of respect that.
Squeezing the life out of the pigskin.
Never understood that. You jump up for a ball and you land on the ground. Anyways. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429.
That's Dwayne Bowe.
No, Dwayne could at least high point it.
Yeah. There's been a rash.
He had terrible hands, too.
So, in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons have lost, is it 23 now, straight games?
I think it is.
Somebody said that the World Series was still going on the last time the Pistons won a game.
That's really funny.
That's correct.
There have been Pistons fans online who are posting pictures of guys who played for them within the last 20 years. Like, man, I miss this guy. And it's like total bums. People are like, wow, I miss Darko Milicic. Like, just Josh Smith. There's like nobodies who played for them. No, Corey Brewer.
The best thing I've seen in relation to that is somebody in the Pistons mentions one after one of their losses, because this is not a year the Pistons were supposed to be bad, and they're 2-27, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And somebody said, "Who are we even tanking for, bro?" And somebody posted a photoshopped image of Caitlin Clark in a Pistons uniform.
Oh,
that's where I am with the Chiefs receiver room, though. Like, man, what about Dexter McCluster?
Man, I miss the Eddie Kennison era.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, Eddie Kennison was pretty good.
I liked Eddie Kennison a lot.
The Chiefs could use a good old reliable like Mark Bo-Richter.
That's NAIA Mark Bo-Richter. 99-yard touchdown. How about that? But let us know your thoughts on our YouTube page.
Albert Wilson, where are you?
You can busy getting money because of one game that Patrick Mahomes threw it to him 20 times. Let us know your thoughts on our YouTube comments. Search 580 Sports Talk. Real simple. real easy. All right.
Junior Hemingway soon come.
What?
Wow, Michigan great.
Yeah.
Didn't they have the other
Clayton volunteers Andre Bad Moon Rising in the YouTube comments.
What about the other?
Anybody who wants to can remember a guy with us. Put him in the YouTube
They
comments.
also had another Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
my
God, they drafted him. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything.
Oh,
Jehu Chesson.
Jehu Chesson.
Jehu
Yeah,
Chesson.
yeah.
We need a little Jehu Chesson.
Oh, that
action.
was going to bother me.
Biggest takeaway for the NFL this weekend.
Cowboys are who we always think they are. They are who they always
Is that
are.
more because of the weather and the Cowboys are this era's version of the Saints with Drew Brees? And if it gets they got to play the dome. They got to play the dome.
I just didn't foresee, like, I kind of thought Dallas would win the game. It doesn't surprise me that Buffalo won. Like, when Buffalo
Is it more about the Cowboys or more about Buffalo in your mind?
I got to think it's more about Buffalo. And I'll give you two reasons. Number one, they bullied Dallas at the line of scrimmage. I mean, that was a butt kicking in the trenches on both sides that I didn't think that would happen to Dallas. I thought they were better than that up front. And I'm not particularly high on the Bills, like offensive line in particular, but both ways, the Bills just kick their tails in the trenches. And the other thing too about the Bills is the criticism about the Bills for the last two seasons, this season and last season, was they are too reliant on Josh Allen. Josh Allen has to do everything and be everything, and he can't make a mistake. He has to play perfect football, because if he doesn't, the Bills don't have enough other offensive skill talent around him to be a great football team. Well, now James Cook is prime Marshall Faulk. And I don't know what to do with that, because if that's who James Cook is, now all of a sudden you have somebody who takes the heat off of Josh Allen. Now you can run the ball effectively. Now you're in second and short, third and short, and your offense is that much better. And it's not a stretch right now to think that's a Bills team that can win the AFC. The problem is they got to get in the playoffs first.
Well, my big takeaway is that the Bills beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys back-to-back, and they had to do that because now the Bills are going to be either the 6 or the 7 seed in this year's playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs because their next two games are the Patriots and the Chargers. They're going to get to 10 wins. You got to get to 10 wins. If you don't get to 10 wins, you're not getting in. And then they got the Dolphins the last game of the year. The Colts, they might not. I don't know if they're going to get to 10 wins. Are the Texans going to get to 10 wins? Have a chance. But the Chiefs had a chance to end the Bills. Because if the Chiefs beat the Bills, then the Bills would have had to have won out and get lucky. And because they don't own the tiebreaker, like the Bengals have a tougher schedule. The Bengals have a tougher schedule. The Bengals have to play the Chiefs, and the Bengals also have to play the Browns. So I don't know if the Bengals are getting to 10. I think here's what's going to happen, because it's very Chief-like. Chiefs get to 2 seed because I don't see Baltimore losing their next 2 games. I think Baltimore will either beat the 49ers or they will beat the Dolphins. And as long as they win one of those 2 games, they are going to get the 1 seed. So the Chiefs, to me, their best opportunity is get the 2 seed, and the Bills are going to be the 7 seed, and they're going to play the Bills the very first game in the playoffs. And nobody wants to see the Bills. Nobody does, because you do have an X factor in Josh Allen, and you do have a wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, and they had a chance to put it like that. It's too, what do you want to call it? Too on script. Like, you messed around and let a team that could be dangerous in the playoffs, and now you have to play them. And the Bills are not going to be scared of the Chiefs. You could play. Here's what's going to happen. I think this is what's going to happen. It's going to be the Browns are going to be the number 5 seed. The Colts will be the number 6 seed, and the Bills will be the 7 seed. And you could play the Browns, the Colts, but nope, you get the Bills because you played with your food against the Packers, against the Broncos, against and the Bills, because the Bills, you beat the Bills.
Yeah.
You win the game.
Say this for the Chiefs. They certainly made a much better accounting for themselves against the Bills than the Cowboys did. That's for sure. The Bills, though, they're like doing what the Chiefs would do if the Chiefs would figure out their turnover problems. Because the two teams, I think, are very similar. Like, nobody ever questioned the talent level on the Bills necessarily. It was they keep finding ways to lose. They're finding ways to beat themselves. They've dug themselves a hole, and they're losing games they shouldn't be losing. Well, isn't that the Chiefs?
Yeah.
And now 2 weeks in a row, the Bills have maybe won games that earlier in the year they would have lost because they've made fewer mistakes than their opponent. So, if the Chiefs ever get right, that's what it could look like for them too. That'd be a hell of a game if we get to see it again in the playoffs.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
I wouldn't be scared if I'm the Chiefs. We beat them twice in the playoffs. I wouldn't. If I'm a Chief, I wouldn't be scared.
I wouldn't be scared, but I do think on the AFC side, this year's annual, the team you don't want to play in the playoffs is Buffalo.
Yeah,
because they're hot. There's probably a little bit of an element of feel like you've got nothing to lose, because even though the Bills are in the middle of that contending window, like they were the team that was kind of left for dead. They fired their offensive coordinator. Sean McDermott was exposed for comparing teamwork to what happened on 9/11. Like they were kind of, yeah, okay, whatever. They're not going to make it this year. On the NFC side, that team is the Los Angeles Rams, because you want to go look at, if you're a nerd, you're me, you're looking at the advanced numbers, the math, there's a very legitimate argument nobody has played better in the last 5 or 6 weeks than Matthew Stafford.
Well, look at who's in there. Right now, your wild cards are the Vikings and the Saints. Like, that's who, outside of the Rams, like, oh, yeah, I'm real scared of, who's the quarter? Mullins. Oh, my God, Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins threw the funniest interception I've ever seen in an NFL game. And then it almost wasn't the funniest interception of the entire weekend, because the Cal quarterback threw a really bad one in the bowl game they were playing against Texas Tech, the Independence Bowl. He was trying to turf it, and he threw it right to a diving linebacker.
No, I'm with you on the Rams, though. But yeah, the Saints, no one's scared about the Saints. The Vikings, yeah. It's going to be a situation where you'd rather be the 3 seed than the 2 seed. For sure. Like, if you're the 3 seed, you're going to be feeling pretty good, because you're either going to play the Vikings or you're going to play the Saints or something like that. The fact that the Saints are the wild card at 7-7 in the NFC, there's just a bunch of mediocre. The NFL's getting what they want. Everybody go 9-8.
See, everyone always says that. I don't think that's true. I don't think the NFL likes that.
No, I'm just talking like the scheduling, like good teams play good teams. And
I suppose.
Like the schedule, everybody's going 9. I mean, there's 11 teams right now who are 2 games below 500 or better. Like, you got the Packers, the Falcons, the Seahawks are all 6-7. Falcons and Packers are 6-8. Like,
great teams make the league money, though.
Oh, yeah, there's always going to be your good teams, but yeah.
It's increased drama for the 7 seed.
Other big news that happened today, Keaton Mitchell of the Ravens tore his ACL. The Ravens are now going to be without, you could argue, their 2 best offensive weapons in Keaton Mitchell, who's been awesome, and Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's a bummer.
Eventually, that's going to come back and get the Ravens. I don't know if Isaiah Likely and Lamar throwing up, I hope this works out, balls, will end up working out.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That offense has started to really click, and it hurts to not have Mitchell because he's dynamic, and it hurts to not have Andrews because he's their real number 1. But, like, they've got a better receiver room than the Chiefs do, but it's not like they got 2016 Odell Beckham out there. And Rashad Bateman, I thought, man, he's really coming along. Rashad Bateman, after last night, still only has like 25 catches all year. Flowers is a stud. He's
good.
Still a rookie receiver, and we've seen with the Chiefs that a rookie receiver who's even really good still comes with some miscues. That's part of the learning curve. Likely is a pretty good tight end. He's not Andrews, but he's pretty good. Their offensive line's playing well. And he's not going to win the MVP this year, but man, Lamar Jackson is playing some of the best football of his career. And they talked about it a lot on the Sunday Night Football broadcast last night that Todd Monken has really gotten him to buy into your move. You're always constantly moving like you were with Greg Roman, but now it's moving to open up more passing opportunities as opposed to just always stay in motion so that you can run from any position. And it's working, and he looks great. And the people who say he's just a running back, like, nah, y'all have been wrong ever since he won the Heisman.
Hey, I think there's a chance this upcoming game between the Ravens and the 49ers, I think will have Lamar Jackson, if he balls out against the 49ers and the Dolphins and wins both games, and they can rest Lamar in week 18, because they would. If they beat the 49ers, he's your MVP.
He's got a chance.
If he takes care of business and looks like he has looked, where he's throwing for a bunch of yards and, pulling rabbits out of hats, I think he's going to be your MVP.
Let me ask you guys a question. Let me throw one out there about the current number 7 seed in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals. They have enough juice to get that thing over the finish line without Joe Burrow, without potentially Jamar Chase here for a couple of weeks, without their best interior defensive lineman, DJ Reader, who's out for the rest of the year. Like, they got a big win, and Jake Browning is playing with a ton of confidence in that offense, and T. Higgins is making some of the most ridiculous catches you've ever seen. But are they just too beat up at this point, or is that a team that can win 2 of their last 3 and maybe sneak in?
I would say they can. Yeah, the answer to that, I would say, is yes, they can do it.
They go to Pittsburgh Saturday.
That's a win.
Obviously, they're at Kansas City on New Year's Eve, and then they finish with Cleveland at home, who has owned them, and that game might be for a playoff spot. Well,
maybe,
or Cleveland might already be it.
Maybe we find out that Cleveland just owns Joe Burrow if the Bengals end up winning that game.
That could be.
I think it's certainly possible. They're playing well. Their defense gets. And it's weird that this happens, because even though you get more beat up over the course of the season, it feels every year like their defense is always playing its best come December. That they have games early on where you say, man, this defense really isn't all that good. I mean, it's happened at least 2, if not 3 years in a row, where you get to December and then you realize, man, Lou Anarumo can really coach. And his team's defense, even though it's kind of the modern no-name defense, they're really good. Like, no, there's not a single star on that defense. Most of the good defenses in the league, you can point to someone and say, that's a star. The Chiefs have Chris Jones and a couple of cornerbacks who are like really, really good. Or the Cowboys, they've got Micah Parsons. The 49ers, I mean, take your pick. You start with Bosa, but they've got the best linebacker currently going in the NFL and Fred Warner, in my opinion. They've got dudes all over the place. Who's the Bengals guy? Trey Hendrickson?
Sam Hubbard?
Like,
Henderson's pretty good.
Henderson, good player. Hubbard, good player, but there's no one.
Logan Wilson?
Yeah, Logan Wilson, nice player, but they're all guys you're like, yeah, like they're good. No stars, and they just do this every year. So, yeah, I would say yes. I think the fact that they've got Browning in there instead of Burrow will eventually come back to bite them, but with only 3 weeks left and a winnable schedule, I think it's certainly possible.
I need to know more, because I know Chase hurt his shoulder, and he had been having a shoulder
AC
injury.
joint, and he couldn't get an MRI yesterday, which seems bad.
Well, it's too much swelling.
Yeah.
If he can't go against the Chiefs, they're not beating the Chiefs. You got to have another dude out there. I don't care how good Jake Browning has been, and Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. You need Jamar Chase to beat the Chiefs. If he is not playing against the Chiefs, they are not going to beat the Chiefs. And as I say that, I mean, as long as the Chiefs don't go full, destroy themselves with 3 turnovers and all that kind of stuff. I just think that's too big of an uphill climb to do that, to me. If Jamar Chase was full on playing, then I could say, yeah, Chase, Higgins, throw a couple YOLO balls up there. We know that the one thing that the Chiefs DBs don't do great at, and that's go up and get the ball. Like, the Chiefs just can't go up and get the ball regardless of offense or defense. Like, there's no high pointers. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the best one we got. So that's an issue. But I do think this is the finish of this season could be tremendous. I mean, the Dolphins and the Bills could be playing for the division title the last game of the year. I think the Dolphins are going to lose the next two. I think they're going to lose to the Ravens, and they're going to lose to who do the Dolphins got? And then they'll be one game back, and
they have the Cowboys.
Cowboys, and they have
Cowboys, then Ravens, then Bills.
Yeah, there's a chance they lose all three of them.
Yeah.
Like the final weeks of this season are going to be very, very interesting with the Texans and the Colts, the Bills, the Dolphins. The AFC has a lot, and the NFC is the same way because every team is 7-7 or 6-8. I mean, Brennan, you're Packers.
No. We got to get to a break. We got time to get to a break. We still have to talk to Matt Verderame. We got the good, bad, and the ugly to get to.
They can beat the Panthers, don't do this. Bears.
Don't do this. No.
Well, I'm not doing this. Dan, they could win 3 in a row.
I suppose.
It's a lot of things that can happen. They can. We'll recap the weekend.
Can't.
Brandon's so salty right now.
Big time.
We will get a quick timeout. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll talk with Matt Verderame. Alrighty, a quick weekend recap with the good, the bad, and the ugly. My good, celebrated Christmas with my family this weekend. My son got to see Santa. Big fan of Santa. Big fan. My daughter, still scared of the big guy.
Yeah.
But seeing his face, that was awesome.
That's cool.
Santa, very, very, very big in the LeBon household right now. That's really cool.
I bet it is.
That's really cool. Someone said to me the other day, like, hey, enjoy the early Santa days. Big fan of Santa right now.
That's cool.
Love you, big guy.
Thank you, Santa. My good, it's one of, it would be bad for Jake. Honestly, it'd be a two-pronged bad for Jake, but it's good for me. Running the triple works. The Harding Bison from Searcy, Arkansas. Or is it Searcy? I don't remember which one it is. I think it's Searcy, Arkansas. They are your Division II national champions in football. They ran for over 6,000 yards this season. Their starting quarterback completed 24 passes all year. 15 games, 24 completed passes. They went 15-0. If you want to play pretty football, go play somewhere else. You want to win, go play for someone that's running the triple.
You want to know how they won?
By beating the tar out of Colorado Mines.
They had mines in the deepest part of hell, man.
We call that a Tuesday in the national championship game or the semifinals.
This is why it was going to be one of Jake's bads.
It's my bad and ugly. First of all, Harding won it because Central Missouri missed a PAT at the end of the game that would have tied it at 35.
Mhm.
And Grand Valley missed the PAT in the championship game. Again, the 4 best teams in the country were in the same region.
Yep.
The best team in the country ended up being Harding. The second best team in the country, Grand Valley. The third best team in the country, Central Missouri or Pittsburgh State. Flip them either way because Harding played slap whatever university in the semifinals, won like 55-10, and then just absolutely smacked Colorado School of Mines, which I saw. I wish I could have bet on all these Division II games because I would have made so much money off of Ferris State and the MIAA in the first round because Central Missouri and Pittsburgh State just smacking all these teams out there because the best way to find your championship is to put, the best teams in the same region. For 2 straight years, the 4 best teams have come from the Central. You want to know what's nuts? It's like Northwest Missouri State or Missouri Western probably beats half the teams that are in the playoffs right now or beats whoever that. I mean, Mines was undefeated and just got absolutely stomped. I mean, Central Missouri didn't have a good defense, and look what they did. Like Pittsburgh, that's so frustrating. Division II, whoever is in charge, you should be fired because you're terrible. Ridiculous.
Shout out to Harding, though. Shout out to the flex bone.
Man, Mines chasing ghosts the entire game.
Yeah.
It was bad. My good, in a similar vein, the Kansas City Chiefs ran an old school single wing T play for a touchdown, their first touchdown of the game on Sunday. And there had to be high school coaches across this great state and this fair land who sat forward and did the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, the ooh, we've got that one in our playbook. I think it was Conway Springs, the 1A state champions, who actually posted video of themselves running that play in Mitch Holtis's mentions. It's a staple play of the single wing or the wing T, however you refer to it. And the Chiefs ran it for a touchdown. They call it Heisman. Your local high school team may call it something else. I wonder what Bill Arnold calls it at Hayden, because I'm sure I've seen Hayden run that play.
Oh, yeah. Definitely seen that one.
So, yeah, that was a cool play. Cool play for a touchdown. And I like when the Chiefs do cool plays for touchdown. I like when any team does a cool play for a touchdown. But it was especially cool to see the Chiefs run that play. That was my good.
Do you have a bad other than Division II?
No, it's my bad and my ugly. It's pathetic.
My bad is that all day Friday on 580 Sports Talk and on sports updates on the Kansas Information Network, I told listeners that K-State played on Saturday. Well, guess what? K-State basketball played on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm driving to St. Joe on Saturday. I'm driving up to do the Washburn game, and I thought, I'm going to turn on K-State. Then I realized, wait a minute. No, I'm not.
Hey, did they really play in the second half?
Yeah, my bad was going to be that K-State shot 4 for 30 from 3-point range.
It's not great.
It's not. Also, my ugly was that they were minus 21 on the glass.
Yeah, my ugly was the fact that no matter what the other circumstances were, they scored 12 points in a second half of a college basketball game. You can't have that,
12
man.
points in 20 minutes is pretty rough.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Coming up next, we're going to talk with Matt Verderame on all things the NFL. We bring in our NFL insider who covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He is Matt Verderame. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, before we get into the news, which the Chiefs have placed wide receiver Sky Moore on injured reserve, we will get to that here in a little bit on who takes his reps, his snaps, and his roster spot. But right now, the Chiefs took care of business, albeit a couple normal Chief things with a couple interceptions, a couple turnovers. Right now, do you feel better or worse after watching the game on Sunday against the Patriots in the win?
It's kind of the cop-out. I feel the same. I mean, really, watching that game, they wouldn't have beaten a lot of good teams playing that way. Now, I thought defensively they were okay. The first half of the game, they gave up a lot of easy passes. But with that being said, I thought defensively their performance was fine. Offensively, it's the same stuff. It's a bad pick by Mahomes. It's an inexcusable interception that had nothing to do with Mahomes, and Tony basically treating the ball like it's a juggling act. It's them fumbling the ball. I mean, they had one possession at a halftime where they fumbled twice. Rice recovered one, and one was negated by a very questionable call. They dropped a touchdown pass. I mean, that's all in one drive. Again, they ended up with 3 points. It was okay, but it was not a performance that in a playoff game you'd feel really good about.
Right now, the odds of Kadarius Toney making a positive impact play, does that still outweigh him making a negative impact play if you put him out there on the field?
No. And I think we're to a point, and I know, Sky Moore just got placed on IR. We're to a point that both Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, in my opinion, should never play another snap for this football team. It's done. It's over. Stop doing it. It's not working. And the Chiefs are talented enough, and they're good enough in a lot of other areas that they're overshadowing this negativity. It's nothing personal. They might be great guys. They can't play. They're not NFL receivers. It's to a point where you are 3 games away from the playoffs. And if the Chiefs go home in January because Kadarius Toney does what he did on Sunday, that's not Kadarius Toney's fault anymore. Now it's your fault. Now it's Andy Reid's fault. You knew this was coming. I don't think Kadarius Toney should play another snap. I really don't. There's no reason to have him out on the football field. He has been nothing but a net negative all year long. He has been a walking turnover, and to play him makes no sense in my opinion.
So who gets the Toney and now Sky Moore going on IR? Who gets is this the step on up Richie James? Is this his time to shine?
I think it's Richie James. I think, maybe a handful of them go to Justin Ross. But look, I'm not sitting here trying to sell any idea that that's the perfect answer. It's not the perfect answer. But I think at a juncture where you got to try something. I mean, you have to just say, hey, look, you know what? We're going to put Richie James out there for 25 snaps a game instead of the 2 that he got this past week. We're just going to put him out there. He's a veteran. He's had some success in the league. We're going to give him a shot. Nobody is expecting him to go out there and have 100 yards in a game. Nobody's expecting him to go out there and have 50 yards in a game. But if Richie James goes out and catches 4 passes for 30 yards and doesn't fumble, he's already better than Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney combined this year, statistically speaking. I mean, that's it. Hey, can you go out and catch 4 quick hitches and not turn the ball over? Because if you can do that, you're already outperforming essentially the 2 guys you're replacing with their snaps. So, and the same goes for Justin Ross. Like Justin Ross, can you go out and catch 2 balls for 20 yards and just not pop it up in the air or drop it or fumble it? I mean, it's not like you're asking these guys to go in there and replace a great amount of production. You're asking them to go in there and do the bare minimum of their job. And if they do that, they're massive upgrades.
We're chatting with Matt Verderame, who covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He joins us every Monday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline as we go around the NFL. Follow Matt on Twitter, by the way, at Matt Verderame. Matt, are the Buffalo Bills going to make the playoffs?
I don't know. They're not going to be a wild card team. I'll tell you that. I think it's this weird thing. If you really look, pay attention. The Bills are sitting here at 8-6. Okay, they don't win a tiebreaker against anybody. Their conference record's awful because they lost 5 games in conference. They lost head-to-head with Denver. They lost head-to-head with Cincinnati. If you look, Cleveland's got 9 wins. Okay, let's assume they get 10. They got the Jets at home in a couple of weeks. They got the Texans this week. If they get 10, you just pick 2 names out of this group: Texans, Colts, Broncos, the Bengals. Okay. Any of those teams, any of those 2, if they can get to 10 wins, which if you look at their schedules, I would suggest that most of them are more likely than not to get 10. Bills don't win the tiebreaker with any of those teams. So their path to the playoffs is they win the next 2 weeks against the Chargers and the Patriots. The Dolphins either lose both or one of the next 2 games, which are to the Cowboys and the Ravens. And then the Bills go to Week 18, they go to Miami. And if they win that game, they win the AFC East. And if they lose that game, they don't make the playoffs. And I'm pretty sure that's what we're headed toward. I think that game is going to be win, and you win the division, lose, you watch the playoffs.
So let's take both of those teams then that are fighting in the AFC East at the top of that division, the Bills and the Dolphins. What is the ceiling in the playoffs for either or both of those teams? Do you think they're actually Super Bowl contenders, or do they feel like teams that have a legitimate expiration date?
Miami, to me, is not a Super Bowl contender. I think they can win a game, depending on the matchup. They're not beating Baltimore, in my opinion. Maybe they prove me wrong in a few weeks. I don't think they'd beat Buffalo in a playoff game. Even with Kansas City's issues, I don't think they'd beat Kansas City. Buffalo is the team that you look at and go, okay, they're probably more of a realistic Super Bowl threat. I would pump the brakes on them a little bit, though. I think this mentality today, this morning, with, oh my God, look at how they played Dallas. I would argue that Dallas was a disaster yesterday, and some of it was because of Buffalo, and some of it is because it's Dallas, and that's who the Cowboys are, and that's why everybody struggles to pick them every year. It's the same old thing. I mean, you watch that game. I sat there and watched every snap of it. The first 3 times Buffalo scored a touchdown, there was a 4th down that was negated because of a roughing the punter. There was a 4th down that was negated because of a roughing the passer. And there was a clear and obvious Diggs fumble that McCarthy decided not to challenge. I mean, that is the difference between the 21 points the Bills scored on those drives and 3 points, which is what they should have scored on those drives. Allen threw for 95 yards. And this is the same Bills team that I just watched go to Kansas City and, quite honestly, get outplayed for 3 quarters. And they won because the Chiefs had done what the Chiefs had done all year long and beat themselves. The Bills could go to the Super Bowl. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Bills lost any game. I think they're up and down. They're a lot like the Chiefs, honestly. They could go to the Super Bowl. They could lose in the wild card round.
The Baltimore Ravens, 1 seed in the AFC right now. They've lost Mark Andrews, their best pass-catching option for, if not the season, then he won't be back until possibly a Super Bowl or AFC championship game. Keaton Mitchell, who's maybe the most dynamic player they've got on the offense outside of Lamar Jackson, he's now done for the year with what looks like an ACL injury. But Lamar is playing incredible football. Their receivers for now are at least good enough. Are they deservedly the favorites in the AFC right now?
In my mind, I think the answer is, if you took a straw poll, yes. In my mind, I think it's a 3-team race. I think it's Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City. I think all 3 of them are capable of going to the Super Bowl. I think all 3 of them are losing, all capable in the wild card round. Baltimore, to me, look, big injury with Mitchell, huge injury with Andrews. The defense is excellent. They're a pressure defense. If they can get pressure on you, they can cause a lot of problems. If they can't, you can go after them. If they can't get home, they got problems. You can really exploit them. My feeling on Baltimore is the same as it always is with them. them this time of year. Can they make enough plays in the passing game in the postseason? because we have seen this movie with them, where they play like this all year, and Lamar rushes for 1,000 yards, and they're downhill, and they attack you, and then they get in the playoffs, and they face good teams, and they face teams that just go, look, you're not running the ball over us. You're not going to do it. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us throwing it. And that's my concern. I mean, for all the talk of last night watching that Jaguars game, you would think Rashad Bateman was a Hall of Famer. Rashad Bateman is 299 yards receiving this year. Isaiah Likely has, I think, 280. Odell is just over 500. Like, it is a very limited group throwing the ball. They're 15th in the league in passing yardage. Or Lamar is, rather. Lamar is 15th in the league in passing yardage. So it's a team that can absolutely go to the Super Bowl. It's also a team that I could see losing because they threw for 130 yards in the wild card round.
Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on 580 Sports Talk, as he does every Monday on this program. You can check out Matt on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Find his work at SI.com. Matt, the AFC South is all of a sudden very much up for grabs. That has felt like a Jacksonville Jaguar coronation for much of the year, and now we have a three-way tie. Who's going to win that division?
If Lawrence is healthy, because now he's in concussion protocol, if he's healthy, no one. They've got the Bucs this week, then they've got the Panthers at home, and then they finish up with Tennessee. I think they will win out if Lawrence is healthy. Now, the Bucs is the one game you'll look at and go, well, it's in Tampa. I know it's not a big trip from Jacksonville, but that's the one game maybe go, well, maybe Tampa wins. I just don't believe enough in Indy and Houston to say I think they're going to have a better record than Jacksonville, because Jacksonville holds the breaker. So, and by the way, Houston and Indianapolis play each other in Week 18. So one of them's losing there as well, and whoever loses that game, I don't see any real path for them to win the division. I think Jacksonville hangs on, but I think that no matter who wins that division, you're not exactly quaking in your boots if you're a 5 seed. Like Jacksonville last night, that's one of those games, if you didn't watch it and you woke up and saw the score, you're like, oh, Baltimore handled them. If you watched the game, it was, my God, how many more times could Jacksonville just hand the game away? I mean, I just have a lot of problems with the way that they played defensively in the pass game. The only team worse than them is the Commanders in yards per game, passing-wise against them. I mean, they just get torched every week. I don't trust the kicking game. We saw McManus last night miss a couple of kicks. And quite honestly, I like Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a great player. And I felt that way for a long time. Like, he can make great throws. He makes a lot of mistakes. And not always picks. Like, it doesn't always end up just missed throws. Throws that the Mahomeses of the world, the Allens of the world, the Burrows of the world, they make those throws. They just do. He's a very good player, but I don't think he's that upper tier guy that can elevate a team way beyond its standing.
The action on an NFL Sunday can make what occurs on a Thursday night feel ages old by the time we get around to it on a Monday. But we have to get to this. Brandon Staley is out of a job. The Chargers unleashed a quitastrophe, the likes of which we have rarely seen in the National Football League, in losing and giving up 63 points to the Raiders on Thursday night. And on Friday, Brandon Staley was told, better get ready to learn monster.com. So where do the Chargers go from here? I don't think there are a lot of people that say it's a really desirable job. Is it that desirable with Justin Herbert about to be making a whole lot of money, and now you got to play the game on hard mode where you pay your quarterback?
Well, first of all, they go to monster.com and they find Brent Staley, which is probably where they got him in the first place. I mean, based on the way he coached, I feel like that's not even necessarily a shot at him as much as it is the website. Look, that was one of the most embarrassing efforts I've ever seen a team give an NFL game. I mean, I can't remember for the life of me right now the defensive tackle who had a scoop score in that game for the Raiders. He ran 45 yards. He's well over 300 pounds. Nobody was in the picture trying to tackle him. For 45 yards. I mean, think about in real life terms how far that is, right? Like, that's almost 150 feet. Nobody was in the photo. Nobody's in the video trying to tackle him. So I wrote it after the game for Sports Illustrated. I'm like, look, this is it. I mean, you just cannot continue with this. And it's him, it's Telesco, so they got to fire him. Well, they did. And now they're going to go through the next 3 games with a bunch of interims who are going to do the best they can, but this team's beyond redemption. I agree with you. I don't think it's a great job. Yes, it's Los Angeles and it's good weather and you have Herbert, and I get all that. You also have an owner who refuses to pay big money most of the time. You have a situation with the fan base, which, with all due respect to the fans, I'm not taking a shot at the fans, just the reality of it, they don't have a strong fan base. You're basically playing road games every week, even when you're at home. You have a roster that is old, expensive, and declining. Mack, Bosa, Williams, and Allen each have cap hits next year in excess in an average of over $35 million. That's nuts. I mean, you can't build a team with that. You're going to have to get rid of a bunch of them. Eckler's a free agent. He's gone. Who's left? I mean, yes, you love Rashawn Slater. You like Derwin James, although James also has injury history himself. Herbert's going to get very expensive here in about a year. And you have a division which you share with Mahomes. I mean, it's not a bad job, but it's a job. Like, if you said to me, would I rather go there or go to Washington for the first time in 30 years? The answer would be Washington. I'd rather go to Chicago. Even and then there's the Raiders where you're like, well, I don't know that I'd rather go to the Raiders, but I'll tell you what, my wallet would rather go to the Raiders based on the taxes I'm paying in California versus Nevada. So I don't think it's this foregone conclusion that it's a great job. And lastly, are the Chargers going to pay? Like, all this stuff with Belichick going there, are they going to pay him $20+ million a year to go there? Because Sean Payton wanted to go there last year and they wouldn't pay him. I mean, are they going to pay that kind of money? I have a lot of reservations to thinking that they're going to do that.
Matt, we appreciate the time, and I want to thank you for coming on these last couple of years. It'll be my final time saying we appreciate you coming on and talking all things NFL. Matt, I know our listeners really enjoy you having on. I know Dan and Brennan are looking forward to you staying on every single Monday, recapping the weekend, but not going to lie, it's a lot of fun hearing what your opinion is, and we'll always be on the NFL. So I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us, my friend. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks very much, guys. Jake, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, SI.com. I'm with you on the Charger gig.
Yeah,
I'm with you on the Charger gig.
Just
and he's on board too.
Yeah.
Also,
they're gonna go get another assistant from somewhere who's not gonna be up to the task.
I think the Bills got to win the division. They got to win out, and they got to hope that the Dolphins lose one of the next 2 games. I still wonder if there's a chance that if they win out, and because if they win out, they get to 11 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the Dolphins win one of the next 2 games,
if they win out, they're in.
Yeah.
So that's the game. Like, if they lose to Miami,
yeah, then they're not in. No, yeah, I'm with you there.
And if they win it, they might win the division.
Yep. Coming up, we'll get to a little Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 93 580 Sports Talk on this Victory Monday. The Kansas City Chiefs taking care of business and the Denver Broncos losing, which separates Denver and the Kansas City Chiefs by just another game.
Hey, did you hear they had an offensive offsides call take away a touchdown? As much as Bronco fans celebrated that last Sunday, like it was their Super Bowl, was the Chiefs losing and Mahomes going nuclear like that. It was very funny that they also lost a touchdown on an offensive offside, and then their coach had a sideline meltdown
on their own quarterback.
Yeah, yelling at Russell Wilson for no good reason. Angry little man. I have zero regard for Sean Payton. I don't like him. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't say that. Like most coaches, I could take or leave. Like, I don't have a strong Kevin Stefanski opinion. I don't have a strong Kevin O'Connell opinion. I have never liked Sean Payton. I have no regard for him.
What's a strong coach opinion that you have outside of Sean Payton?
Like Andy Reid.
Okay. But like everybody thinks
like Pete
he's
Carroll.
Really good. Okay, Pete Carroll. Okay.
Todd Bowles belongs in jail.
I know over his football.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I know they won yesterday. I get that.
Well, they won because their quarterback had a out of body experience on the road.
Most coaches though, like, don't have personalities. Like it is like Kevin O'Connell and Kevin Stefanski could walk into this studio right now, and I wouldn't be able to tell them apart. I have no idea what they look like.
I know what they look. I know Kevin O'Connell is like he's the new good looking coach. Like Matt LaFleur's out, Kevin O'Connell's in as the good looking.
Remember
coach.
that clip from New Heights? It was Jason and Travis Kelce, and they were trying to identify the head coaches at the NFL meetings.
He could tell who McDermott was.
Like half of them, he didn't know. He's like, "Who the bleep is that guy?" And it was Josh McDaniels, who coaches in his division or did. Coaches are generally faceless and don't give you much in the way of personality, and so you don't really form opinions on them. Like, there's not a lot of Jerry Glanvilles or Bum Phillipses running around these days, or even Jim Mora's, like senior, not junior.
I think
Junior's a pud. I have a strong opinion about Jim Mora Jr. He sucks.
I do think there are a couple, big personalities out there. Kneecaps.
Dan Campbell.
Yes. Dan Campbell's one of those guys.
I give you Dan Campbell.
Like if Dennis Allen walked in here, I might not know who Dennis Allen is, the Saints head coach. Like
Dennis Allen, and I'm gonna look this up real quick so I don't sound like an idiot. I think
who's that coach of the Cardinals? Gannon. If he walked in here, I wouldn't know him. He was defense coordinator in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what Shane Steichen looks like. You know what I do know though? He is an awesome coach. He is really good at his job.
That team doesn't have much business being 8-6.
Nope.
And in playoff position
with their backup quarterback in.
I know we all the time talk about how coach of the year is just the coach that beat expectations the most. I would legitimately vote for Shane Steichen for coach of the year. They went from rookie quarterback who everyone, myself included, were like, this dude at this point is just a complete wild card. They won a little bit with him. He got hurt, and he took a journeyman backup who lives in a van and has his team prepared to make the playoffs.
I'm not
without
sure.
having his number one running back almost all year.
I'm not sure he'd be the coach of the year in that division for me. I think it's Stefanski. They have 4 different starting quarterbacks, and they're going to be the top wild card team in the AFC.
Well, they're not in the same division, but I see
that's
your point.
Right.
I thought when you said same division, I thought you were going to go D'Amico Ryan.
Yeah, I would put him on my ballot. D'Amico Ryans is awesome. That Houston team within the next couple of years.
They just won a big game and rallied back to win with Case Keenum at quarterback.
Yeah. And
my brain broke there. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Same conference. That works. I think D'Amico Ryans is going to have that Houston team as one of the top teams in the AFC within a couple of years. Stroud getting older and more experienced. I like their young skill players. Their defense is only going to get better with Ryans at the helm. I think he was the perfect hire for them. And he played for them, so that helps.
We will get to a little Andy Reid audio in which he makes fun of good friend of the show, Nate Taylor, who Nate Taylor had some fun with that. But it's a Zoom call on Mondays. The Chiefs are on the road. Sunday they get back. So they do a Zoom call now for Monday's press conference with Andy Reid. And so everybody's, got their Zoom setups and everything. Well, apparently Nate Taylor, friend of the show of The Athletic, was in his bedroom and his bed wasn't made. And Andy Reid actually said, after Nate asked the question, because when you pop up on Zoom when you're talking, it Andy Reid can see you, and he said, "No, Nate, did your mom not teach you how to make your bed? God darn it, Nate, let's get better." And then he goes, "All right, I will." And I'm like, did he really just call him out for making his bed?
Coach is coach, man.
Yeah. Where's your video setup at home?
Yeah,
like if you're doing a Zoom or you're doing our chief show or what's your setup? Or where is your setup?
It's in our basement we have kind of a little mini storage room that's, not very big, but my wife works from home. And so she does all her stuff there on a desk and everything. So I just go stand down there with the background. There you'll see like a couch and my TV and a couple of the stuff on the walls and everything.
Yeah, I'm in the basement. I'm on the first couch. You see, we got 2 couches laid out. We got 3 TVs in the basement, and I'm on the first couch. And I'm in front of some wall art. I'm on a couch. Sometimes my cat will join me. One of my cats, like yesterday, on the reaction, Zoe wanted some attention and walked right through the shot.
Yeah, we have it's technically a second bedroom, but it's an office that we have, and I've got the Abby's bookshelf and all my big gigantic CBS Sports banner behind me that was at one time at Allen Fieldhouse, and how it ended up in my apartment. Oh, look, we're out of time. Okay, let's get to the football.
That would be Lawrence Police Department. That would be, his name is Brendan Gorzinski.
For what it's worth, it was hung up at a game at Allen Fieldhouse long before I was a student at KU or had ever been to Kansas.
Just for afraid he will be
He's
in
at
attendance.
Brendan DZW on Twitter.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to. That is also the KU police, the local student police.
Hey, that's not the worst theft of a banner by a former KU student that's been on social media lately.
A gentleman in Lawrence,
not just a gentleman, former longtime Lawrence High head football coach Dirk Wedd.
Yeah. And put on Twitter recently that he and some compadres took a banner that had hung in Ahern Fieldhouse at K-State and posted about it on Twitter.
A famous banner at Ahern, the Every Man a Wildcat banner that most people had just assumed.
Like just recently?
Yes, like last week, posted on Twitter. Hey, yeah, we tore this banner down after a KU K-State game. I have it. I only have this part of it, though. The rest of it is not in great shape. I think he was offering to sell it.
How old is this guy?
I'm an older gentleman.
It's a 50-year-old banner, and if he took it when he was a student, we can assume.
Yeah.
Not great. But yeah, we all did dumb stuff in college.
Yeah, most of us don't.
Assuming he did it in college.
Most of us don't out ourselves for doing it 50 years after the
statute of limitations, maybe. But his name is Brendan Gorzinski. If you want to,
I did not steal anything for what it's worth.
It's a cool banner. I would have stolen it too.
It's a sick banner. It's probably the coolest thing I own. It's also what everyone always comments on.
Okay.
Like, where'd you get that? Well,
none of your business.
I got it as a favor for helping a friend move.
No,
that's
what
where I got
did,
it.
You got it. It was gifted to you.
It was, yeah. It was given to me for doing a favor.
It was gifted to you. Let us know your thoughts on if you've got anything cool at your house when it comes to something that maybe you shouldn't have. Well, why not? Have some fun with it.
Use a burner account to let us know.
Yes, we will. Hey, we're not going to rat you out, man. Unless your name is Brendan Gorzinski here at the 580 WWW studios.
1210 Executive Drive.
You can reach us at 789-272-9429. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is he the best receiving option after Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce?
I mean, I wouldn't even say he's your best receiving option among the running backs, but
right.
And in all seriousness, he had a good game. He really, really did.
101 yards from scrimmage on 17 touches, scored a touchdown, had the longest play from scrimmage in the game, 48-yard catch and run on a just beautifully designed screen pass.
There was no all the eye candy with Kelce and whoever else it was in motion. Maybe it was Rashee Rice, going the other way.
I think
everybody was over there.
When he caught it, I think the only people on the screen on that whole half of the field were Clyde and the middle of the Chiefs offensive line
And the
ready
fact
to
that
go.
it was
hurt
them
some
for
people.
like a good 3 or 4 seconds, it felt like. And then he would have scored probably if what wide receiver was there who didn't make the block? Because it was a wide receiver who didn't make the block. That's why he had, he broke that tackle and then ended up getting tackled. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually has been a productive back, a productive backup for the Kansas City Chiefs these last 3 games. He really, really has, to the point where Andy Reid said today that, yes, Isaiah Pacheco is going to be able to play in the game against the Raiders. I would limit him. Like, why push it? Do you need Isaiah Pacheco for the Raiders for the Chiefs to beat the Raiders? No. Why are you pushing it? I don't care if he did have just a little cleanup, which, by the way, a little cleanup when you take something, and I don't know, I am not his doctor. But if you had even just arthroscopic surgery to your shoulder, what you had a legit procedure on in the offseason, and you are a battering ram, Clyde has done a good enough job to say, hey, you know what, Isaiah? We'll give you another week off to rest up that shoulder. Am I maybe I'm conservative when it comes to this. Maybe I am a prisoner of the moment.
You get your best players on the field as soon as they're able to contribute. But, Clyde deserves credit for making sure that the Chiefs did not so acutely feel the loss of Pacheco in 2 big games where that could have been something that they really felt. Like, they lost to Buffalo. It had nothing to do with not having Pacheco. They ran the ball effectively. And against a team that has been one of the best run defenses in the league over the last month and change, the Chiefs didn't run it great overall. I think they were below 3 yards per carry, but they had enough punch in the running game early on that it made you have to respect the screen game and opened up that big play for Clyde. And then the contested catch he made, that is just not a play we are seeing Chiefs wide receivers make. Travis Kelce had a chance at a play like that in the end zone, didn't make the play. Didn't come down with the catch in the middle of the end zone on an earlier drive. So for Clyde Edwards-Helaire to make that play, as much grief as he's been given, as hard as I'm sure it was to be running back 3 and not even sure if he's going to make the team out of camp, this is probably pretty gratifying for a former first-round pick to be able to contribute at this level. And he does. He looks like he's got a hop in his step.
The catch was impressive. It was an impressive catch. I will give him full credit for that.
The size of this butt that is coming.
No, it's kind of like the Kanye West. Hold on.
I'm going to let you finish.
I'm going to let you finish. No, I'm not.
Like,
are you going to use however or but or unfortunately?
Not unfortunately. And he went over 100 yards and had a touchdown this week in terms of total yardage. That is valuable. I don't think 76 rushing yards on 24 carries in 2 weeks is a good backup at all. That's like a guy who should never be higher than 3rd on the depth chart. If you take out...
Well, he's not 3rd on the depth chart. He is 3rd on the depth chart. He's behind Pacheco and McKinnon.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But, I don't think he's back for doing exactly what you would expect him to do. If you take out one check down, catch and run, 100, and you can't. That happened.
Well, it wasn't a check down. It was a legit screen to him. That wasn't a check down.
Sure, but a catch and run. So you take out the outlier play from everything else, 4.1 yards a touch is actually quite bad for a running back. That, you would have 29 touches for 121 yards other than that screen pass. That's 4.2 yards a touch. That is not a good number. In fact, that's a pretty bad number for a running back. I appreciate the fact that he had a good game and that he gets the total, and maybe the fact that a team is just going to look at that box score and say, you know what, our running back room stinks. Sure. 1 year, $1.5 million, bring him in. Maybe he just tacked on another year to his career as a free agent this year. And if that's the case, I'm happy for him. His teammates seem to love him. Everybody in the locker room after the game said how happy they were for him as a person that he had that game. And I'm happy for him too. But like 2 weeks in which he got 11 plus carries in each week and didn't have over 40 rushing yards does not exactly have me hoping the Chiefs change their offseason plan for him.
We're not suggesting that they franchise tag him or
No, I don't
Give him
think
a
we should make
Jonathan
more about
Taylor
this than
deal.
it was. Like this is a bad running back who caught a screen pass and then had one cool catch. Like that's what this was. I just don't think Chiefs fans in general should make more of this than it is.
Yes, I'm not saying. I'm just
especially against a group of players who could not possibly be more, like desperately waiting to get to Cabo this summer.
I don't know, man. That Patriots defense brought the noise. That was a legitimate effort from the Patriots defense.
That wasn't
Bill
the Chargers.
Belichick quit early in the fourth quarter, but that defense did not.
Just the sheer fact that, hey, you know what? He is the third string guy, and the third string guy came up with 2 big plays in the game, and that's a huge bonus, I think, for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm watching this play right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire shouldn't get more than 3 yards for this. He had 3 blockers and 0 defenders in front of him. That yardage all belongs to Trey Smith, as far as I'm concerned.
Coming up next week, what is wrong with you? And then we're gonna hear Andy Reid.
What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan with you for the rest of the show today. Short week today and a short week to find our champion next week. So let's give you a quick rundown, some what is wrong with you housekeeping here as we end calendar year 2023. This week, I should say, we will have what is wrong with you through 4 days because we don't have a show on Friday going into Christmas. We're going to be off on Friday and then off a week from today, next Monday as well, sometime around, and Monday and Tuesday next week, in fact, sometime around Christmas that we're going to take off. So we will have regular What Is Wrong With You today and tomorrow. We'll find our finalists for the month of December, Wednesday, Thursday this week. Then next week, Wednesday, when we return, we will have the first round of our tournament of failed champions for the year. And then we will find a champion of What Is Wrong With You for 2023 on Friday, December 29th. So a week from Friday.
A final show of the year. We will crown our champion. We will raise another banner to the fictional sports talk rafters alongside our past champions, the grilled cheese standoff in 2017, tailpipe girl in 2018. Still an all-timer.
Oh, man. The guy who jumped off the bridge
Yes, bridge guy in 2021. The wrong house demolition in 2020. Dad of the year in 2019. The guy who stole his daughter's Girl Scout funds.
Who ended up winning last year?
Man, I was just about to ask you, brother, because I forgot already.
We can definitely go find this.
I'll hold on. I've got most of the winners in an archive here. Was it the Family Funeral Feud?
It was the Family
Funeral Feud. Yeah, the brawl at mom's wedding when brother tried to hit sister with the car and destroying a water main, flooding the funeral plot. Then he got out of his car and got brained by some old dude with a cane.
Yeah, that was my favorite detail of the story.
That was a good story.
Our finalists last year were the winner, the Family Funeral Feud, Chiefsaholic, and the Skeleton Sex House, which, if I remember correctly, your wife hated that story.
Yes, she was not a fan.
I thought that one was so funny. So we will find our champion for the year coming up next week and our December champion a little bit later on this week. And it's time to find our first weekly winner of the week here in What Is Wrong With You. All of our stories brought to you, as always, by Top City Metal Supply. They cut the metal you need to your specifications, saving you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to metal. That's with Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Dan, why don't you go first today?
All right. The band Midnight Oil famously asked the question in a song, how can we sleep while our beds are burning? Well, there was a gentleman and his girlfriend and their child who found out that it's very hard to sleep when your bed is burning, especially when it's your ex-girlfriend who sets it ablaze. A woman in Memphis faces charges of aggravated assault and arson after police say she intentionally set her ex-boyfriend's bed on fire while he and his new girlfriend and her baby were sleeping. 19-year-old De'Erica Wiggins was just booked into jail on Friday for an incident that happened back in March. Investigators said no one was hurt in the fire, which was extinguished before firefighters arrived on the scene. The female victim said she heard what sounded like a lighter outside their bedroom door and saw someone looking through a crack in the door, but thought it was one of her boyfriend's brothers. She said she woke up to the comforter being on fire. The boyfriend said he was able to put out the fire and confronted Wiggins in the driveway. Police said Ring video also showed Wiggins entering and exiting the house. Bit of an open and shut case here. The fire caused significant damage to the comforter. That's tough. A good one can be kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And some smoke damage to the bedroom. Wiggins is also charged with reckless burning and setting fire to personal property. She is scheduled to go before a judge on Monday. As jilted lovers go, this is one of the more extreme cases that we've had on What Is Wrong With You, certainly this year.
Yeah.
She set the bed on fire, man.
Yeah, you can't do that.
That's wild.
Man, 19 years old, you are too young to be this jaded. And I say that as someone who is relatively jaded and even was at that age. Too young for this, though.
Yes.
You haven't had enough life experience to feel like this is the time I'm going to waste my lighting someone else's bed on fire for my life.
Shout out to the new girlfriend with the rabbit ears to be able to hear a lighter.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm going to tell you right now, you could fire up a flamethrower outside my bedroom door at night when I'm sleeping. And I don't think I'd stir.
Nah, I'm sleeping right through that entire thing.
The only thing that's going to wake me up in the middle of the night is the cat meowing. And boy, does she do that. Just one of them. It's Zoe. She's a problem. Got to quit turning on the sink for her when she begs, and it's a whole thing. Anyhow.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
All right, my story today takes us to Polk County, Florida, where it wasn't happy hour, but one man was eager to start drinking after he was caught on camera stealing the ingredients to make a screwdriver out of an apartment. And that's all he took. According to Polk County deputies, the man was seen on November 23rd, so we're going back a few weeks, at 5:30 a.m., sneaking into someone's apartment through a secondary door. He even had the decency of shutting the lights off after he left. The victim told deputies they don't often use that door, and they were unsure why it was left unlocked. The video shows the unknown suspect walking into the apartment and shortly thereafter walking out with a handle of Svedka vodka and a bottle of orange juice, with a total value of about $35. Detectives also said the man tried to get into the apartment across the hallway, but it was locked and he left. If you recognize the man on publicized security footage, you are asked to call Heartland Crime Stoppers.
Do you suppose he was looking in that other apartment for a glass?
Oh, yeah, I figure so. Or like a snack to go along with it.
Dang, forgot a glass.
Yeah. I'm in the mood for a mixed drink today, but maybe a beer this afternoon. See if they've got a sixer in there.
I know you are not a drinker of alcohol, so
correct.
You don't really have a firm opinion on the screwdriver one way or another. I'm not a big vodka guy. I got to tell you, I just think that stuff's gross largely. Like in the summer, maybe like a good vodka with like a Sprite or 7-Up can be refreshing. I know some people like the vodka cranberry, not for me. No, I'm generally a pass on the vodka thing.
Yeah.
Like some other libations. I got my fill in college. That is not to say I was a problem drinker or anything like that. Just I did all of the drinking of that particular spirit that I cared to do while a college student when you're at a place where that's what they've got.
I have often told people, just as a joke, if they ask what I want to drink when we're out, I say, oh, yeah, give me a double vodka tonic, except make it all water. That's my entire association with vodka as a drink. I don't know. I think of screwdrivers, and I'm sure that they're not this. It makes me feel like it's like an old person drink, like a Manhattan. Like, I don't think anyone under the age of like 55 drinks a Manhattan.
I've had a Manhattan within the last calendar year. Yeah. When it was martini night at Paisanos. Yeah.
What is your mixed drink of choice?
If I'm having a mixed drink of choice, I'll tell you an old fashioned is really good. I might get an old fashioned.
Okay, so the reason I'm laughing, and I won't share his name, no one knows him except me, but one of my really good friends, we went to high school together, we went to KU together, really good friend of mine. I've shared stories about him before. Funniest person I know, and also like the dumbest person I know. So he and his now fiance have been together for 4 years, something like that. And she comes from old money, okay? Like very well-to-do Chicago family, very connected.
Sure.
As far as I'm aware. And the first time that he met her parents, they went out to have a nice dinner. And my buddy ordered an old-fashioned. And then another. And then another. And then another. He had 4 old fashions the first time he met her parents. And her dad
That's a lot.
Yes, that's exactly what her dad said. He's like, 4, huh? That's a lot. And his response, oh, is it?
He didn't know what they were. Probably what was in them.
Yeah. He's sometimes a listener to the show, so buddy, if you heard that story, let me know.
That's like the night I thought it was a special on amaretto sours tonight at the Fluttering Duck at DePauw University. Now I'll take 6, and I had a little trouble getting out of there that night. But
hey, it happened.
No, as far as the answer to that used to be Jack and Coke, but again, have my fill of those. I can't even do Jack Daniels. I can't even be around Jack Daniels anymore. Yeah, I can't. Like, there's other whiskeys I can do. Like, I guess I drink like a 50 something because like I like a Scotch on the rocks.
Okay.
You know, a bourbon on the rocks.
Okay.
A gin on the rocks. Gin and tonic, fine. I like that. But yeah, if I'm gonna drink booze, I'll just as soon have it like neat, or I'll have it over ice.
I can't,
and I'll have one.
Yeah, just one.
That would be my rule. One.
All right, who's our winner for today, and what is wrong with you?
Man, that woman set a bed on fire.
Yeah,
with a baby in it.
Yeah, she could have killed numerous people, including a small child.
Yeah, wild move.
Yeah, again, 19. Come on, let's.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah, a lot.
You don't need to take vengeance against this particular fish.
No,
in this fashion,
certainly not worth it. The other one is funny though. Like, he really had one thing in mind. He just wanted a beverage.
Yeah, like petty theft, right?
Yeah, right. All right, that is our winner, the woman who lit her ex's bed on fire. That is our winner today in What Is Wrong With You. That story and all of our stories brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard right here in the capital city, located in between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Andy Reid spoke to the media earlier today, as he always does on Mondays following Sunday games. And we'll hear from Big Red coming up on the other side of this break right here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk on this Monday, December 18th. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. A lot going on this week. We, again, as I mentioned at the top of last segment, are off on Friday through next Tuesday. So the 22nd, 25th, 26th, those weekdays we will be off. The 25th, obviously, Christmas, and we're taking a little extra time off around the holiday as well. Make sure you're tuned in, well, every single day to 580 Sports Talk, but especially coming up on Wednesday this week, it'll be a big celebration day here on the show. It'll be Jake's final 580 Sports Talk show.
The way you phrase that makes it sound like it's a celebration that he's leaving.
Like a celebration of a great career, a great time
yes,
here.
It will be a bittersweet day on 580 Sports Talk, as we will say goodbye to Jake LeBon, who was leaving the radio business. And we got some fun stuff planned for Jake's final day. So we do hope you'll join us Wednesday, and we're not looking forward to it.
No, not excited about the fact that it is happening, but now that it is, we're going to celebrate a great career in radio for Jake, and a lot of fun memories here on 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we're going to hear from Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Big Red spoke earlier on today about the win against the Patriots, and let's dive right on in. Here's Andy Reid from earlier today.
Don't have any injuries for you. Updates there yet. Guys are coming in. All in all, it was a good win yesterday. That's a tough place to play, and they've got all these games that they've lost by just one score. So to be able to put together, points on the board with some really good things, 6 out of the 8 first possessions were really good drives for us, and offensively, and then defensively to be able to come back and do what we did there, I thought was good. They had a couple drives that they put together, but for the most part, our defense, I thought, just did a real nice job. I thought special teams did a nice job. I mentioned Tommy yesterday at the beginning of the press conference after the game, and that punt of his was really something special. So at a good time, and a good time for it to happen. So all in all, coming out of that game with the results that we had, I thought were positive, and there's some good things to build on. Plenty of stuff to work on. But some good things definitely took place. I liked where Pat was in the game and the job that he did. Again, throwing for over 300 yards, and some of the turnover issue was a little bit self-inflicted from our standpoint. We've got to catch the ball better and so on. So, and then Clyde to step in and do what he did, I thought was he really did a nice job there with the running back spot. And then there were some nice things that were done by the receivers, tight ends. I thought there were some real positive things done there. The offensive line that's a good defensive front, and obviously by their run game, the way they've presented themselves in the run game, they're first in the league. So we were able to do some things there to keep them off balance. Defensively, again, the pressure we were able to put on the quarterback, whether it was from a linebacker position, secondary position, from the defensive line, I thought was that's tough to stop from an offensive standpoint. So I thought that was productive there. I thought some of the tackling that we did was very good. And you've got to be able to do that down the stretch, in particular in cold weather games. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Hey, Coach. I know that Kadarius has all this explosive upside. We saw it in the Super Bowl, but I got to imagine the turnovers that have, the drops that led to turnovers and the penalty. It's been frustrating to him and you. Do you get the sense that you're going to continue to lean in, Tim, with the same amount of opportunities? And if so, what gives you the confidence that in these final 3 games ahead of the postseason, he could turn it around?
Yeah, Pete, I'm not going to get into all that. I mean, the obvious is that he's got to make sure he catches the ball and does that. He's got a tremendous amount of talent. So he's a good kid, good attitude, good kid. So, but you got to make those plays. He knows it as well as anybody. So I'll leave it at that.
Hey, Coach, I have 2 questions for you. The first is you played more 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets in yesterday's game. I'm just wondering, is that a Patriots-specific sort of game plan, or is that something you think you can lean more on as the season progresses? And Brad, I'll have another question.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a little bit of that, throughout the year. And Noah is a good football player, and so we've tried to utilize him more as we go, and still has a big dose of the special teams. So but he's done very well, and then Blake has also done a nice job when called on. So we feel comfortable with the 3 tight end positions too. We've done that though throughout, but to have the flexibility, Nate, to be able to give them different personnel groups, still use the 3 wides, I think is good also. So good mixture helps.
And secondly, Coach, just for clarification purposes, I know you said Friday that Pacheco had his cleanup surgery, I guess, earlier last week. Was that like an arthroscopic surgery? And do you know if that was just to clean up cartilage, or if there was sort of tissue from the muscle that he needed to sort of get repaired on?
Yeah, it wasn't the muscle. But he'll be back this week. He'll be good to go this week. So unless there's further setback. But I mean, right now everything's positive for him to go. And he really had a clearance last week from the fellow that did the surgery to go. So it was just a matter of being precautious on it. And that's not precaution, but cautious on it. So, did your mom not teach you how to make your bed back there, my man? Doggone you. Huh?
I'll get on that, Coach.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Brad. I'll have a follow-up as well. Coach, I know you mentioned, there are things to clean up, but, you kind of got away with maybe a couple of the things that have been, consistent problems for you. Rushy had another fumble. He was able to recover it. Sky had a fumble that you got back because of the penalties. Did you see progress in the ball security? I mean, is it something that still remains as big a problem as it's ever been?
Yeah, you can't have those things, Soren. We've got to do a better job of hanging onto the football. Absolutely covered in traffic. Rice actually had it covered, and then he took his arm off it when he kind of spun around. And as important as these guys are, as hard as they're playing to get those extra yards, there's a point where the ball security overrules that. And young guys, they have to figure that out. And, we've got to do better. You got to keep that thing up against your body. You got to keep it high and tight and covered in traffic. I mean, that's, and if it takes you out of that element by trying to spin around and make extra yards, you got to forget about that and keep the ball secured. So we've got to do better there. Yes.
And then the other one, Patrick, the cameras caught him pretty frustrated, after the second interception when he came over. Do you worry about when those things are going on? You mentioned guys securing the ball and maybe even Blake fighting a little, positioning better. I don't know if there was a technique that he could have done better, maybe to help him out on that first one. But do you worry about Patrick's frustration level and that could boil over and affect his play?
Listen, I think, he's competitive, Soren. Just like you are, right? I mean, we all are. We're in this thing. You got to get your numbers, and we got to get our numbers and W's and L's and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's a competitive business. So if you're, and he drives that thing. That's he's you want what he has, and so his demand on guys ends up being a big part of this, and makes us what we are. I mean, makes us better, and the great ones do that. And so, listen, you're going to drop the ball, or you're going to tip a ball, or you're going to fumble a ball. He's gonna let you know, let's go, in whatever manner he does, and he gets on himself if he does something negative. I mean, it's but that's a welcome thing. But I don't think it is a negative. I don't think it's a discouraging thing for him, or he's very competitive and wants it right.
Hey, Coach. 2 questions. One, just a quick kind of cleanup from Nate. When you're talking about Pacheco being back this week, is it just available to practice, or do you feel, barring any setback, he's ready to go against the Raiders?
Yeah, no, I think he'll play this week, man. Yeah, I think he'll be ready to go, and that was the clearance that he had to be able to do that. Yeah. Gotcha.
Thank you. And secondly, obviously you've got some rotations changing at the receiver position. 2 players in particular I'm kind of curious about, with Richie James and how he kind of fits into that room, and then when the return of Justin Ross, how you kind of see him fitting in as well after an absence.
Yeah, we'll have to see on Ross just where that goes. I'll get with Veach today, and we'll go through all that. Richie, though, has got to play more than 2 snaps. So that's my responsibility on that. I didn't have him in on enough stuff, and he's a good football player, though.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about the first touchdown yesterday and kind of the design of that play. And Patrick talked about after the game. You guys have been working on it for a while. How often do you guys have to run a play that's a little different than a normal play before you trust it? And we'll put that in there, and what that process is like. And when it works, how much fun it can be.
Sure. Todd, that thing, I've been saying I was going to call it the last few weeks, and there wasn't the right opportunity to do that. But that was a good spot for it right there. But it wasn't because we were ready to run it at that time. That's not what I'm saying. We've been ready for the last few weeks on it. But you work on it once or twice a week, and then you build enough weeks on it, then you feel pretty good about that. To answer your question on whatever play it is. So yeah, it's kind of different. That one was obviously a little different. That was from I believe it was the Penn Columbia game in like the 40s. So
That's Andy Reid, Big Red, speaking earlier today via Zoom, as he typically does on Mondays following Sunday game days. Okay, a couple things stand out. Number one, call it a play from the 40s, running to single wing. I thought initially I was looking at a wing T play, but it really was more single wing. So hand up, that was my mistake on Twitter yesterday. That's awesome.
It's easy to get the terminology confused because they're similar, but that was a good old wing T or a single wing.
Yeah,
good old single wing, and
I love that. No one knows how to defend that. You do not expect a play like that. You do not expect to see quarterback number 15, Patrick Mahomes, with his hand in the dirt on any play ever. If you're in the modern NFL, there's no idea, no way anyone knows how to stop that play. So that was awesome to see. Additionally, fair or foul calling out Nate Taylor for not having his bed made?
Fair. A grown man. I like Nate Taylor. I think he's a really outstanding beat reporter. He's a friend of the program. Make your bed, man. You're going to be out. Like, sometimes you come on a Zoom and like nobody's going to really look all that closely at what's going on behind you. But if you're going to ask a question on the Chiefs Zoom, like that goes out on YouTube, brother. That's not like something that's like your weekly, finance meeting or budget meeting or whatever it is.
Press conference where you're not asking a question so you can turn your camera off.
Right. You are the beat writer for The Athletic. You are going to get FaceTime with Andy Reid. You better make sure your situation's taken care of. I make my bed every day. I make our bed every day, Abby and I. And I think it's a good habit to have. And I like the feeling of smooth sheets instead of rumpled ones when I get in bed at night.
I sometimes do. It's hit or miss. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I feel bad because when Abby gets up way earlier than I do, and when I'm alone in bed, I end up just in a knot in the sheets every morning. Like I take all of them and I roll them around. It's a mess, and I will feel guilty. Like, oh well, they're just in a pile at the foot of the bed on my half. Like I might as well smooth these back out for us. I would be just so embarrassed. I don't think I could ever talk to him again. Like I know I'm probably an outlier and how much shame that would bring me to be called out like that. But no, that would.
No, it would shame me too, which is why you make the bed. Is if you're going to put yourself out on Front Street like that, you better be prepared for what's coming down the pike. The other thing though is, like I said, when we were talking about earlier, coaches coach.
Yep. And
that was a coaching moment.
It was
for Andy Reid.
Have I ever told you about the time, this must have been going back to 2020 or early 21, K-State football press conference on a Tuesday afternoon. I was hosting the show solo that day. It might have been 2020. I think Marco was around at the time. And I opened up the Zoom to record Chris Kleiman speaking, and he wasn't there yet, but most of the room was full, TV folks from KC and Topeka and whatever, and beat writers. Forgot to mute myself.
Oh, no.
Press conference was scheduled right for the top of 3 o'clock hour, maybe.
Uh-huh.
So I've got my computer right here, in fact, where my laptop is right now, facing me. And I said, hey now, 580 Sports Talk, getting started on a Tuesday. And I didn't notice anything was wrong until I look over. Just, you glance around when you talk sometimes, and you're monologuing. And I look over, and there's a big number. It says in the chat, the private chat in the Zoom call. And I opened it while I'm talking, and it's like, who is talking? Who is being loud? Please turn off your microphone. And I realized, oh no, that's me. So we got about 5 minutes of the top of an hour in the K-State press conference.
No.
Thankfully, Chris Kleiman had not shown up yet, but like everybody I know who covers K-State athletics or works in TV in our city, was there listening. So,
mortifying.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. I was so horribly embarrassed. If I remember correctly, Marco thought it was quite funny. That'll do it for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. We will lead off our 5 o'clock hour with our headlines. We'll talk some college hoops next hour, too. It's all coming up in the final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Sports Talk on this Monday, December 18th. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. We're with you until 6 o'clock today.
We got a Royals trade at the top of the hour.
Hey now. Some breaking news. We'll get to that here in just a moment. Not earth-shattering.
Not real exciting. I just thought I would keep people sitting on tenterhooks.
No, I mean, it's cool.
Like,
Fulton Castor's ears perked up because this is someone he had a lot of stock in for a while.
Fulton made trade sounders. Remember that for draft or for the trade deadline?
There may have been a trade.
Oh my gosh. That's so good. There is indeed a trade.
Looks like we have a trade.
We'll get to the Royals move here in just a moment. Also this hour, we'll recap the college basketball events from the weekend. KU with a thrilling come-from-behind victory to beat Indiana. Bill Self said after the game, it was his new best memory at Assembly Hall. Did you hear what his previous best memory was?
I did not, no.
He met John Mellencamp there. Yeah. I guess when he was...
he must have really been proud of that win.
Yeah, when he was coaching Illinois, they lost by a lot at Assembly Hall, but he met John Mellencamp, and then KU actually won this weekend.
Funny.
So we'll get to that. K-State, not so good for the Cats.
Is shooting 4 of 30 from three-point range bad?
Well, it's certainly not good. Not great. 13%. I could not believe it was that bad. Like, at some point, you think one's just going to bounce for you and fall in. But,
that was the game. Nothing bounced for them.
Maybe this weekend, or it's not even this weekend, is it? Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Wichita State.
Yeah.
Maybe K-State goes like 15 of 19 from 3, and it just everything falls in that game. We'll see. So we'll get to those games. We'll get some final thoughts on Chiefs, Patriots, all that coming up this hour. Plus your texts. Text line number is 785-272-9429. And the YouTube comment section open for you. You can go check out our YouTube stream. Our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. Just head to YouTube, search 580 Sports Talk. You'll be able to very easily find today's live video stream of the show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel while you are over there. And check out all the different video content we have up. We did the Chiefs post-game instant reaction show yesterday. Dan and I did that. Had a lot to get to from that game. And we'd love for you to check that out and all of our other video content over there on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, without further ado, let's get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. And let's jump right on in. Our Royals trade today. They're wheeling and dealing. The Baltimore Orioles are acquiring right-hander Jonathan Heasley in a trade with the Kansas City Royals for rookie ball right-hander Cesar Espinal, according to sources who told that to Jeff Passan of ESPN.
So there was some urgency with which the Royals needed to make a trade. We talked about this last week when they were beginning to announce their spate of signings, that they needed to create space on the 40-man roster. They had a full 40-man roster, and they had to clear space for Chris Stratton, for Hunter Renfroe, for Seth Lugo, and for Michael Wacha. So every single one of those players gets added. They got to make a procedural move to clear a 40-man roster spot. They can do that in a variety of ways. They can make a trade. They can designate a player for assignment. They can just outright them to waivers, whatever the case may be. But we've seen Taylor Clark outright traded, to Milwaukee to create room. I think we were off the air when the Edward Olivares trade happened. Or did you get to that in headlines on Friday?
No, we were definitely off the air for that.
So yeah, when that was the Stratton signing, I think that was official on Friday, and they had to make a move, and they traded Edward Olivares to the Pittsburgh Pirates for a minor leaguer. And now today they made the Michael Wacha signing official, 1 year plus the player option for the veteran right-handed starting pitcher. And to make room for him on the 40-man roster, they have traded Jonathan Heasley for peanuts. And that's about what he's worth, given his big league CV. 3 seasons, 36 games, 24 starts. A career ERA of 5.45, a strikeout rate below 6 per 9, a home run rate approaching 2 per 9. the results just were not there for a pitcher that the Royals were really high on as he advanced through the minor leagues. He did some damage in the minor leagues coming out of Oklahoma State as a 13th round draft pick, part of that vaunted class of 2018, made his big league debut in 2021, made 3 starts, pitched 14 innings. They ain't go that great, but then he made 21 starts in 2022, 4-10 with a 5.28 earned run average. And then this past year, in 12 appearances, all out of the bullpen, pitched 15 innings, gave up 5 home runs. That is 3 home runs per 9. I felt like Heasley had maybe the big enough arm to be someone who adjusted to life as a reliever and shortened his repertoire and had some success as a relief pitcher. And it has not happened. And if it's going to happen in the future, it's not going to happen as a Kansas City Royal. My verdict.
That's a fair trade.
Okay. We'll take that. We're happy with that. Yeah, I mean, it was never going to work out with Heasley. You know, while we're talking about it, because we didn't get it on Friday, and maybe I just don't know enough about who or what Davis Nadal is expected to do in his baseball career. I'm a little surprised the Royals didn't get a little bit more for Olivares.
He was an above average hitter last year. The problem with Olivares, as I talked about repeatedly through this last season, is his position is designated hitter.
Yeah.
He's about as poor a defensive outfielder as I have seen. Just the fundamental stuff. I'm not talking about, oh, well, his range factor is this and his outs above average or this. Like,
no, he just can't play.
I'm not getting into the weeds with you on defensive metrics. I've watched him try to feel the ball and not be able to do it. I've watched him overrun ground balls. I've watched him mishandle line drives. I've watched him misjudge balls into the gap. He's not a good outfielder. And the Royals probably feel like DH is pretty well taken care of between some combination of Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino and maybe Nick Pratto this next season. So you had to move on from a corner outfielder, and we thought they would. And Edward Olivares was kind of a natural fit because he's not really an outfielder. So he'll go to Pittsburgh where they're dying for any bat to break into that lineup. And I'm sure he'll get an opportunity there. A little less cavernous in outfield. I don't know. Right field's not. They got the short porch with the big wall and right, but left and left center are pretty big. So we'll see how that goes for Eddie in Pittsburgh. I think he's a decent hitter. I think he's probably right around average as a hitter. Maybe a little bit more power in a power friendlier ballpark like Pittsburgh, but not going to happen. Did you happen to see Ken Rosenthal's article about the Royals on Friday night?
I did see that. Yes.
So Ken Rosenthal wrote a piece about the Royals spending money, because that's raising a lot of eyebrows around baseball. And maybe it is raising your eyebrows as well, because as far as you knew, that wasn't a thing the Royals did in free agency, was go out and be aggressive and get their guys, get their hone in on targets and then get them, which is what they've done to this point. Rosenthal talked in the article about why the Royals are trying to loosen the purse strings. Hint, they want you to pay for their new stadium, and they know that if their team is good, maybe you will be more inclined to spend some more money on them, perhaps in the form of a sales tax. So that's obviously a big part of it. But the other thing I found interesting was the Royals did the Seth Lugo deal, and they were also looking to add another starting pitcher. And they have had some conversations with teams about trading. We've talked about this. And the idea of trading for a younger, cost-controlled starting pitcher. And one pitcher who might be available is Miami's Jesus Luzardo. I don't know if you all are familiar. I can tell you this. Jesus Luzardo's awesome.
Really good.
That dude's a beast. Left-hander, big slider. This past season for the Marlins, had a 3.58 ERA, made 32 starts, which not a lot of guys in baseball are making that many starts. Struck out 208 batters in 178 and 2/3 innings. 200 strikeouts, big deal. Jesus Luzardo got there this past year. He's a stud, and he's only 25. I think he's got, I want to say it's 3 years. Earliest he can be a free agent is 2027. So he's got 3 years of team control left. So that would be a pretty nice get for a team
Mhm.
looking to get a starting pitcher. If the Royals got Jesus Luzardo, he would be their number one, and Cole Reagans would be their number two.
Yeah, and I mean a rotation of Luzardo, Reagans, Singer, Lugo, Waka is.
I think that's the best in the American League Central. I really and truly do. I think that would be the best starting rotation in the American League Central.
Fair, and you've got a higher ceiling pitcher. In fact, you've got 3 higher ceiling pitchers in your first 3. I mean, Singer is volatile, we know, but his good is really good. Reagans, I think, has proven his good is really good, and Luzardo would be the best of the group. You've got the stable guys in the back of the rotation in Lugo and Waka. I mean, it'd be that's top half of the American League, not just best in the division.
Yeah, it's a really, really good starting rotation. The Royals were interested in acquiring Luzardo, and Miami said the price starts with Vinny Pasquantino. And the Royals balked at that. And I think understandably so, beyond the production I think you can expect from Pasquantino when he's back to full health in 2024 and beyond, because I still think he's an outstanding hitter. He's going to be a guy who, with his on-base skills, with his power skills, with his shoulder cleaned up, I think he's a lineup anchor. But beyond that, he's a guy I think means a lot to the Royals clubhouse, like personality-wise.
Yeah.
I think it's him and it's Bobby Witt Jr. who are kind of the leaders of this young group of guys. And the Royals, according to Rosenthal's column, considered the possibility of making that trade, but ultimately weren't comfortable with parting with Pasquantino. So the front office went back to John Sherman and said, hey, we're not going to be able to add the starting pitcher we want to add via trade. We need $32 million for Michael Wacha. And John Sherman said, okay. And that's why Michael Wacha is a Kansas City Royal officially today. So
I'll take that.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
You know how aggressive the Royals have been in trying to rebuild this pitching staff. Because again, if they were in any other division in baseball, the barrier for entry back into contention from 56 wins the year before, 106 losses, would probably be too high. Not in the American League Central. Just being serious about trying to win baseball games is going to put you in a position to be competitive in this division next year.
Yeah.
And once again, I tip my cap to the Royals for doing that.
I'm glad it will be a better team this year. And if it's not, oh my God. But it appears as though this is going to be a better team this year. I have a hard time being too upset about that. What's your first headline for the day?
All right. My first headline is that we've got lots of college football news to get to, but I'm going to get to the big news of the day, and it revolves around University of Georgia and University of Nebraska and quarterbacks. Earlier today, Carson Beck, starting quarterback at Georgia, announced that he is not going anywhere. He says, I'm not leaving. I'm not transferring. I will be back for another year of eligibility as the Georgia Bulldog starting quarterback in 2024. I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but it had probably been leaning in this direction for a few days, so it might very well be coincidental. One of the top high school quarterback prospects in the country, Dylan Raiola, who has long been committed to Georgia, made it official today that he is flipping his commitment from Georgia to Nebraska, where his dad, Dominic Raiola, famously starred on the offensive line for some of those great Tom Osborne Nebraska teams. He is flipping his commitment. He is going to play his college football at Nebraska. He has tweeted about it. There is a absolutely terrible poem that somebody wrote that he retweeted. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's embarrassing. Like, if somebody wrote a poem like that about me, I wouldn't want anyone to read it.
No.
But Dylan
Too much secondhand cringe.
Yeah, it's very cringy. But Dylan Raiola is going to Nebraska. I don't think this is a coincidence. It was about a week and a half or so ago when somebody asked Matt Rule a question about recruiting, and he said the going rate for a quarterback is $1.5 to $2 million in NIL. And now Matt Rule has his quarterback of the future.
I think the Carson Beck news, because he had talked about not knowing what his future was going to hold at Georgia. He was going to play the bowl game, but didn't know if he would go enter the NFL draft. It would have been very dumb for him to enter the NFL draft. Like, that would not have made any sense for Carson Beck this year. I believe, personally, Georgia knew this was happening, And Kirby Smart, as a rally the troops kind of move, said, Carson, don't announce you're coming back until after the Raiola news. Wait for Dylan Raiola to announce that he's going to Nebraska, and then you make the announcement you're coming back to Georgia. Because then it looks like, hey, we've got our guy back. Why do we need this 5-star kid when we've got our own 5-star kid who's already here? That's going to make us feel good, and it's going to soften the blow publicly from losing out on Dylan Raiola. It's unthinkable that Nebraska was ever not going to get literally Dominic Raiola's son.
Right.
It's unbelievable to even consider that wasn't going to happen. And Matt Rule, being an adult in the room when Scott Frost was incapable of being that, got it done. Whether that took $1.5 million or not.
We trust that you are aware of this. If you are listening to this program, we know that you're pretty smart, pretty in tune. But just in case, when a coach does a press conference, especially a college coach, they're not just talking to the media, and they're not just talking to the fans. A lot of times, they're talking to boosters, or they're talking to their AD.
Yep.
And this was a case where Matt Rule was talking to his boosters. And Nebraska is the kind of university with the kind of football tradition and the only game in town in the state of Nebraska. I mean, here in Kansas, we got 2 Big 12 universities. Nebraska's it for football purposes. You got a lot of people who maybe went to Creighton and they love Creighton basketball and they'll Blue Jay till they die. But in the fall, they're Husker fans.
Jayskers.
Yes, they are called Jayskers, and not always politely either. It's a whole thing. We don't need to get into it here. But Nebraska's got enough history and enough power in that state that I am sure there were some checkbooks opened, and they basically ran a pledge drive for Dylan Raiola.
I would imagine so.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Can't blame him, man. It's been 7 years since they've been to a bowl.
That's crazy. That really, really is crazy. Next one for me, let's stick with college football. Some transfer news involving one of the, and I believe this was made official. I saw it this morning. I want to make sure it is a done deal. Well, okay, yes. I wanted to make sure I had an official source on this. Will Howard, though, former starting quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats, he is headed to USC. Reports in from 24/7 Sports, among other places. That deal is going to get done. Will Howard will be the new starting quarterback at USC. This is not surprising in the sense that, or when it officially gets announced, it's not surprising because USC has been on him from the very beginning. In fact, they were one of the first schools to express interest in Will Howard. It's just a different kind of fit. Like, he's such a different player than a Caleb Williams. I think he's a different kind of player than Spencer Rattler. He's obviously different than Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield. I think Will Howard's a good quarterback. And maybe Lincoln Riley can get him to a level where he gets back to NFL draft talk. All of Riley's quarterbacks get drafted. All of them do. And they all get drafted very highly. Like Caleb Williams, who's about to go number 1 overall. Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall. Look at Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. Jalen Hurts, who going to Oklahoma, I straight up said on these airwaves, like, he can't pass. I thought even after he left Oklahoma, this dude can't play quarterback in the NFL. Well, it happens sometimes that guys keep improving and keep their nose to the grindstone, and now Jalen Hurts, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. All of Riley's guys have that happen. So it makes plenty of sense for Howard. I'm just curious how that's going to look. That USC offensive line sure as hell ain't the K-State beef, okay?
No.
Much different group over there.
Absolutely wasn't last year. They have been super dependent the last 2 years on Caleb Williams improvising.
Superman. Yeah.
I don't think Will Howard is that kind of an improviser.
No.
I think he's got a great arm. I think he's got good size. I think he can manipulate the pocket a little bit, but he's not going to do some of the out-of-this-world Caleb Williams stuff that made him the Heisman winner last year and is going to make him the number 1 overall pick in this draft probably. So it is an interesting fit, but, I hope it goes to show everybody who, if you were a K-State fan and you weren't, for whatever reason, keen on Will Howard, you didn't think he was a great player. Lincoln Riley, who is many things, but as you mentioned, a keen judge of quarterbacks is definitely one of the things that Lincoln Riley is. And if Will Howard was good enough to play for Lincoln Riley, he's probably a pretty damn good quarterback.
If you are on Twitter and you're a college football fan, you've probably come across the account Big Game Boomer before. He doesn't like this transfer. So Will Howard's probably winning the Heisman next year. That is the biggest blowhard moron on the internet, which is saying something. He is an idiot.
There aren't 5 accounts on Twitter worse than Big Game Boomer.
No, he is very dumb.
And I mean worse in a harmless way. Because like there are obviously like
fascists,
actual real life Nazis on the platform.
The bad people.
Like Elon Musk is still on there. I think he owns it still.
Yeah.
The creditors haven't taken it from him yet. So like there are like actively bad Twitter accounts, but like as far as like harmlessly stupid and bad, yeah, Big Game Boomer be very high on the list.
He is very, very dumb. So the move has not been made official, but it's gonna happen. Pete Nakos of On3 today said that USC is trending to land him. It's a done deal. If that guy is saying it's trending, it's a done deal.
I thought Big Game Boomer was in on the joke at first.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought it was like an elaborate gag, like when he'd do like best places to get a hamburger in every Division I football city, and like randomly, like Toledo's answer would be Burger King.
Yeah,
like I thought it was this really elaborately researched like troll gag, but I think it may have been at first, but I think now he thinks he's a big deal. Like the time he tried to get credentialed for KU Oklahoma and he didn't, he threw a fit.
And he's still throwing the same fit weeks later. Yeah, so look for that news to be coming soon. It is going to be popping up here within the week.
Out of my face, Big Game Boomer.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Get out of my face. Couple of other college football transfer notes. Former Kansas defensive tackle Gage Keys has his new home. He's going to play his grad year at Auburn. It was looking like it was always going to be Auburn from the start of the process, and it wasn't a very long process. Auburn really wanted him. He really wanted Auburn. So Gage Keys to Auburn. How do you think he'll fare in the SEC?
I think he'll play really well. He's a good player. Little bit of a slow start to the year, but by the end of the season, he was right there as KU's best interior defensive lineman. He'll be a good player in the SEC. I would like to say one thing. If there's any Auburn fans out there, possibly an Auburn fan who said that Bill Self is sleazy because KU won the recruiting war to get Flory Badunga in basketball, who is also down to Auburn as one of his finalists. Do you have a comment about Auburn blatantly tampering with a KU football player? Any comment? Nope. Quiet. Interesting. That's the business, folks. That it is what it is. And that irks me. I always say that I don't want to tell people how to be a fan because everybody handles it differently. Emotionally, straight and facts only. Everybody handles it differently. But don't give me the sobbing and crying, oh, other teams are cheating because they took our players. But then when someone takes yours, but then when you take someone else's, like it's all fair game. Don't give me that. Just be honest with yourself.
My team's coaches work hard on the recruiting trail, and they put in the hours, and they've got the juice to get things done on the recruiting trail. Your team's coaches are criminals and crooks and belong in prison.
When my team gives out an NIL deal, we're smart with money, and we have great boosters and people who support our program, and the guys want to be part of our family. When you give out an NIL bag, you're cheating and using dirty money.
Yeah. 'Twas ever thus. I mean, that's what makes college sports great. Is because people speak out of both sides of their mouth like that, and they mean it. They mean
they do.
Every word. The other note worth sharing, Baylor's got their quarterback for next year. Toledo quarterback Daquan Finn, who was the Mid-American Conference Offensive Player of the Year this last year for a really good Toledo Rockets team, is transferring to Baylor. I think Finn is pretty good, and that's going to be a substantial upgrade from Blake Shapen.
Yeah, he's a good player. He was the MAC Player of the Year, correct?
Yes,
yeah.
Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, Offensive Player of the Year. So, no.
He might have been all-around Player of the Year, too. I know he was Offensive Player of the Year.
No, heck of a player. It's going to add a dynamic level to that offense. It'll be a little bit of a new offense with Jeff Grimes leaving, now at KU. I'm interested to see that fit. I think that's going to be a really interesting one to follow. One set of NFL notes to get to. One, Jalen Hurts. Sounds like he is good to go tonight. He has been very sick all week. But it sounds like he is good enough to start tonight for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks will likely be starting Drew Lock at quarterback.
No word. Geno Smith is at least out for warmups, it looks like.
Okay.
But, he's going to try, give it a go, dealing with a groin injury. We are at least spared Mariota versus Lock tonight.
Yeah.
If you are a neutral and maybe that starting quarterback matchup wasn't very appealing to you, but if it ends up being Drew Lock, I'm going to find something else to do tonight.
Other NFL note from today, Steelers safety DeMonte KZ has been suspended for the rest of the season and any postseason games due to repeated violations of unnecessary roughness. He was ejected Saturday from the Steelers-Colts game for a hit that knocked out Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr.
It was a terrible hit.
Yeah.
It was also a terrible throw
Awful.
and a terrible position to put Michael Pittman Jr. in.
Yeah.
I hope he is okay. Does KZ have a record of this? Is this his first suspension? Or because if this is a first-time offender, this is way too excessive a suspension.
The official word from the NFL was for repeated violations.
Okay.
I remember KZ being a dirty player, and I was trying to pull up.
He has been 5 times this season for various unnecessary roughness violations.
Yeah, that's a dirty player right there. 5 times? Give me a break. Come on. Like, yes, this one was unfortunate, and I mean, Minshew is as guilty as anyone for this one, for throwing such a terrible hospital ball, but you can't hit dudes like that.
No.
You hit someone hard enough to give him a concussion head-to-head, yeah, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Any other headlines for you?
No, I think we can keep it moving and maybe get to some college hoops next segment.
That's exactly what we're going to do on the other side of this break. KU beat Indiana. K-State falls to Nebraska. We'll break them both down coming up on 580 Sports Talk. .535 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you. Big weekend of college hoops for both KU and for K-State. Let's start with the team that won early on Saturday. It was one of the earliest tips of the weekend. KU was down and trailed in the game against Indiana for over 35 minutes and won. If that's not the most Bill Self Kansas basketball of the 2000s thing you could imagine, I would love to hear what your follow-up is to that. KU was struggling offensively, couldn't really shoot the ball well, got absolutely nothing off the bench. Again, no one on the bench even logged more than 8 minutes in the game yet again, maybe not even more than 7 minutes. You got to get more from Johnny Furphy. But in the end, KU won. And KU had, again, they benefited from Indiana not being all that great this year. They've got a winning record. I don't think this Indiana team is very good. KU had the two best players in the game. They had Hunter Dickinson, who had another double-double, and they had Kevin McCullough, who continues to get first-round NBA draft buzz at this point. Sixth-year college guys don't get that kind of buzz in the NBA draft. Like, that is the kind of level at which he is playing right now. And he is Jalen Wilson from a year ago, Ochai Agbaji from 2 seasons ago. You stick around after being a key yet still role player, and you move into that role. That is you become an All-American. That is essentially what this KU program has been for those wings in these last couple of years. And McCullough has been that. And KU was tougher, more talented, and better coached down the stretch. And like in a lot of games, that's why KU came out on top. It's preposterous how many of these games KU wins. It always comes down to, well, it's Bill Self. He's the best coach in college basketball right now. He's one of the greatest of all time without question. Of course they're going to win a lot. Yes, win a lot, sure. It's 99 out of 100 times KU wins this game. It's outrageous how often it happens.
There's that old line about the sport of soccer, that it's a simple game. 22 men chase the ball around the field for 90 minutes, and in the end, Germany wins.
Mm-hmm.
College basketball, similarly, a simple game. 10 men try to put a ball in the hoop for 40 minutes, and in the end, the team being coached by Bill Self wins. Like that's where we've gotten to with the way that Kansas plays these games. And some of it is like, since the COVID year, they've had a lot of veterans on their roster. And it's a lot easier to get veterans to play with poise, composure, whatever term you want to use down the stretch of games. What I said on Twitter following the game, KU plays like there's no scoreboard. They just seem completely unbothered by the game state. And I think it's this team has really stood out in that way. Like, they got behind big at home against Missouri, and they played with no panic. They knew they were going to win. Take it one possession at a time. We'll get a bucket here. We'll get a stop on the other end, and we'll keep doing that for a while until now we're up big. The same thing against Kentucky. They have this innate knowledge that they're going to look up at the end of 40 minutes and say, oh, look at that. We have more points than the other guys again. They play like there's no scoreboard. They're unhurried. They're unrushed. They don't play to the state of the game. They don't panic. You know, they don't have a lot of like panic possessions or panic fouls that you see teams make when they feel a game starting to get away from them, when they feel momentum starting to slip on them. It just doesn't happen for this team. And a lot of that is coaching. A lot of that. But a big chunk of that too for this group in particular is these guys have played a lot of basketball games, and maybe not that many together yet, because obviously Hunter Dickinson's the new guy, but this group collectively has played so much college basketball. This is not like, if you ask me right now, which KU team would win if this year's team played last year's team, I think I'd take last year's team. I think I'd take certainly the national championship team. I'd certainly take the 2020 team. I'd absolutely take the 2018 team, the 2016 team.
I was going to say, I would take the 16-17 team. Frank Mason's senior season, I'm taking that.
Oh, yeah, the 17. Yes, absolutely. This is not one of the more talented teams. It is certainly not one of the deeper teams. It might be the least deep team that Bill Self has had at KU in a while, but they are hard to beat. That's another term that I hear thrown around when I'm like watching a soccer match. Like, this team takes some beating. Like, you're gonna have to be special to beat them, because they find a way. And that's what's most impressive about this KU team to this point is they're just so hard to beat.
I think this team, if you just said you get 5 players, we're going to play the NCAA tournament, you get 5 players, you're starting 5. I think KU's best team in the country. I genuinely do. And you're right. There might not be that top level 5-star talent on the entire team. You've got a starting 5. Every single one of these dudes is a certified dog. And when you say that, DAWG, everyone knows what that means. And like, if Bill Self says Kevin McCullough, is a dog. Same with Dwan Harris, obviously.
It used to be like GOAT. It used to be a criticism, and now it's like the best thing you can be.
Yeah, now it's a major. KJ Adams, the ultimate dog.
Yes.
Hunter Dickinson, a little bit different, but yeah, he's that guy. And Elmarco Jackson is dog in training. He's like puppy right now. Like it's getting there. And he has played, Michael Swain wrote this over at fog.net, and Elmarco only scored 5 points. He's been playing better and better probably 4 games in a row now. He's getting there. You need, in this game, Adams played 36 minutes. Dickinson, 38. McCullough played 38. DeJuan played every single minute of this game. Like, you've got to get these guys a moment to get a Gatorade and to get back on the court, like a minute at a time. Furphy, you got to get more out of him. He's been really quiet the last couple games, only played 7 minutes on Saturday. I think your 7th man is Jamari McDowell. I know Timberlake's your 3-point guy, or supposed to be. I know McDowell came into this year. He was the most, like, he's so raw. We really are. He's not going to redshirt, but he's almost going to redshirt this year. He's at least the defensive energy guy. He's kind of a mess on offense. Like, he really doesn't know what's going on.
He made a big 3.
Made a 3-pointer. He's got skill. He's got energy. He's got that tenacity to him. I want him to be the 7th man off the bench, or 2nd guy off the bench, 7th man in the rotation. You need 5 minutes a game from Parker Brown. You need 5 minutes because your backup center is KJ.
Right.
You play him as your small ball 5. Can you get Brown in there for 5 minutes to get Dickinson and Adams a rest at the same time? If you can get that, fine.
They rolled a lineup out there late in the first half, and this was due to foul trouble. But they rolled a lineup out there with, like, I think it was Brown, Furphy, Timberlake, Harris, and Adams. And I watched that, like, how many games would these guys win in the Summit League if this were your starting 5? Like, that's
disgusting.
Yeah, it wasn't. And that was the point where Indiana, it had been a pretty tight first half. That was where Indiana started to stretch their legs, push the league to 8, 9, 10 late in the game. You brought up DeJuan Harris. I was watching the Field of 64 podcast. They do a live reaction show after, like, the day's action in college basketball. Rob Doster, Jeff Goodman. I don't remember who the third guy is. But I thought Jeff Goodman made a really good point about DeJuan Harris. He should have been looking to cook Indiana's freshman point guard, Kyle Cupps. Like that, when I was watching the game, that's what I felt. Oh, this is going to be a big advantage for KU. Like, this is going to be a game where Harris looks to take Cupps off the dribble. Harris is going to be aggressive going to the basket. And he just wasn't, because it was like the 5th game in a row where DeJuan Harris is out there not looking to score. The best version of this team, kind of like last year, the best version of this team is not one where DeJuan Harris scores like 20, 25, but it's one where he gives you 8, 10, 12, scores off the bounce, hits the open 3 you give him. Like, they need that. If they don't get that's a problem. But DeJuan needs to be, and I think he can be, and I think he will be a little more assertive for Kansas moving forward, because he played well in the second half, and that was KU's best half.
The 3rd member of that broadcast on Saturday night was Randolph Childress.
Oh, Wake Forest great.
Yeah. No, I think Harris will get to that point by the end of the year, because he has to be. Bill Self has always said he doesn't have to score, but if we need him to, he is able to do it. He's going to have to do it this year. Yeah. And if he does, again, this is the national championship caliber team. K-State played yesterday, and again, that was my bad for the weekend that I told everybody and their sister on Friday that K-State played Saturday. My bad. Look, sometimes you just get beat. And that's essentially what the conceit of Jerome Tang's post-game press conference was. He said 4 nights a year, you are going to play a game so good that no matter what your opponent does, you are going to win. And 4 nights a year, no matter what you do, your opponent is going to beat you with the way they're playing. That's just the way it works. That's like the baseball saying, you win 54, you lose 54.
And then it's the 54 in the middle that determine how your season goes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I get that. And I think there's a lot of validity in this game to that. I also think it is fair to say that's probably not what you want to hear after your team just scored 12 points and a half. Like that, I heard that and thought, man, I want you to be mad. And then Jerome Tang's not going to do that. But I want you to be like, what the hell were we doing out there? I want you to go Vince Lombardi on me.
It might have been what the locker room was.
That's true.
Because, like, Kansas got out-efforted and outworked in a way that I haven't seen happen to them.
K-State.
K-State, yeah. I haven't seen that happen to them under Jerome Tang.
No.
Nebraska was first to every loose ball. They out-rebounded them by 21, which is an unbelievable margin. And it's not because Nebraska's front court is like 3 7-footers. Like, it wasn't sheer size. No. This is all effort. It was all bounce. Like, just, you could tell Nebraska had more pep in their step. They had more bounce in their shoes, however you want to say it. K-State got out-efforted, outworked. And that doesn't happen to a Jerome Tang team. And so that was why his reaction after the game kind of surprised me a little bit, that he basically just said, hey, I got charged this one of the game. And maybe you do. And maybe that's the healthy way to look at a game like that. Say, we didn't have it today. Like, whatever it was, whatever intangible factor we needed to get a game over the line, we didn't have it. We didn't have that bounce. We didn't have that pep. For whatever reason, it was not there. It was absent. Also, you shot 4 out of 30 from three-point range.
Yeah.
And they made, like, Tyler Perry made his first 3. Like, it looked like, hey, Tyler Perry's feeling it in the first half for a change. It's going to be a good offensive night. K-State scored 34 in the first half. 68 would have been a winning number.
Yeah.
They scored 12 points in 20 minutes of basketball. And I didn't think it was because they were running bad offense. I think once the game started getting away from them, in contrast, what we talked about Kansas, they play like there's no scoreboard. K-State panicked. K-State looked up and said, this is getting away from us. And when they got a couple of good shots and they weren't falling, then they're trying to force things, and those aren't falling. And then you just run some really ugly one pass on a shot possessions that have no chance, and it starts to affect your effort on the other end. And like, the segment of the game from the under 8 to when Tang called a timeout, I want to say with about like 4:45 left, something in there, that was a defeated basketball team. They didn't, whatever it is.
And you could tell.
Yeah, they didn't have it. And it's not a, like, inexcusable. Like, if they'd done that, if they tricked off a game like that, like it's like Oral Roberts, which they didn't.
Yeah.
They tried, but they won that game. They won the North Alabama game. This is not a game that you look at and say, oh my God, this is going to cost us the NCAA tournament. Nebraska's 42nd in the Ken Pom after that win yesterday. They beat Michigan State last week. Like, that's a team that looked like they might go to the tournament. It's not a bad loss, but it's a win you might end up regretting not having come March.
I would say that two real quick points, because we have to get to a break. One, the downside, this kind of game is the concern for one player in particular. That's Arthur Kaluma, who has unbelievable talent. He is an incredibly talented basketball player, and Creighton people will tell you this. There are times when he just disappears and you think, where the heck is that guy who can take over a game on offense?
He was National Player of the Week last week.
He was. And yesterday he went 2 for 10 from the floor, 0 of 5 from 3, only made 4 of 7 free throws. He had 8 points in 37 minutes. K-State's not going to win a lot if Arthur Kaluma's giving you 8 points on 2 of 10 in 37 minutes. That is the worry. And that's what the coach, I said this last week, if the coaching staff can work Kaluma to a point where there are fewer of these games in conference play, K-State's going to be just fine. Also, the optimistic note for this, I think K-State is going to be a completely different and way better team starting January 2nd. That is when Quez Glover is going to return to the team. I think if you have Glover at the 1 and you take that responsibility away from Tyler Perry and you have him be more of an off-ball guard, I think this team is going to look so much better offensively. It might take a little bit because Glover hasn't played all year. That is what I'm looking for, though. I think that gets K-State to the next level. Let's get to a break. Final thoughts on this weekend's NFL action coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk. Some late breaking news from Monday Night Football tonight. Geno Smith active.
We'll see if he plays.
Yeah, that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, no guarantee he'll play, but he is active tonight. Both teams were a little worried, Eagles and Seahawks, and they might not have their starting quarterbacks tonight, but does look like for the moment it'll be Jalen and Geno. Seahawks trying to snap a 4-game losing streak, and the Eagles trying to get back on track. They've lost 2 straight.
How realistic is the 1 seed for the Chiefs at this point?
How realistic? I don't know. Like, it feels like they're going to win out, but I don't think the Ravens keep passing tests. Man, like, they're not completely dominant, but they keep passing tests and checking boxes. And it doesn't feel like it's going to happen at this point. They'll probably be the 2 more realistically.
I assume the Chiefs will probably be the 2 at this point. I do think they'll get ahead of the Dolphins. Having that tiebreaker there is obviously helpful. I know this has been said numerous times in recent years. This is the best Baltimore team since they won the Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 47.
It's a really good defense.
Really good defense that keeps playing better. Lamar is playing some of the best football of his career. Their line is playing well. I can't believe that after 4 years of Greg Roman, another team needed an offensive boost. I just cannot believe that for the 100th time in his career that ended up happening. I think Baltimore will end up with that number 1 seed, though. Chiefs aren't out of it to make it back to the Super Bowl, though. This team still has that ability. I don't know that they gave me a whole lot of faith this weekend, but hey, I'd rather win on the road by 10 against a crappy team than lose by 10 on the road to a crappy team. So can't complain too much about a Chiefs win this weekend, even if Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore still can't really play at the moment. We have to get to one final timeout, but we'll finish up 580 Sports Talk right after that with the final word. Time for a quick final word before we get to K-State women's hoops. Dan.
I think it's a victory to not feel any worse about the Chiefs after a few weeks of bad vibes. The fact that we don't feel actively worse about the Chiefs as a team and the their chances to make a playoff run after their win on Sunday, I have to consider that a positive. They took care of business against a lousy team. Mahomes was pretty great. The interceptions aside, one of them not totally his fault. Maybe the other one really wasn't either. Rashee Rice continues to play like a star. The running game effective enough. And defensively, they flew around. They created havoc. They created turnover. It was an all-around solid performance and one that hopefully gives them momentum as they face another Palooka quarterback this coming week.
Final word for me. Kansas Jayhawks won another close game on the road against a high major team. It is unbelievable watching Bill Self-coached teams play in those tight games. Not good for your heart health, but man, it is fun to come out on so many of the winning ends of those. Another big win, Battle of Blue Bloods, KU number 2 again in the country this week in the AP poll. We're back tomorrow from 2 until 6. Until then, for Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. K-State Women's Hoops is up next following this edition of 580 Sports Talk.